Hello, welcome in. It is week 13 of the Sunday Social Fantasy Football for Fantasy Six Pack. We answer your start sit questions, get some betting advice here from our buddy Alan while he's live on the job. And then we usually have Joe in here for rankings. He's going to join us maybe for a little start sit action. But before we get started, please, guys, if you like watching us, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, maybe hit that bell for notifications. You know when all of our stuff comes in, like waiver reports coming into fantasy playoffs. And then if you want to get into the nitty gritty with us, direct access to Joe, a top 5, top 3 ranker, I believe, still at Fantasy Pros for the Accuracy contest. You got to get in on the memberships at fantasy6pack.net/plans. It's cheap. I mean, I believe you still got that Black Friday discount going on, Joe. You can give me a thumbs up in the private chat if you need to. But yeah, definitely go check that out. It's a great deal. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Hi, Dylan. How are you doing on this fine Sunday morning?
Dylan
I'm doing
is
well,
free.
man.
He's doing great, man.
I'm doing great. 100%. Eberflus got canned on Friday, so I feel pretty good about that. But let's let Alan just dive right into his stuff here. What you got, Alan?
Let's see. Today, or this week, I think it's smart to just stick with the trends, man. This is kind of where the numbers start to make sense. And I'm just looking at the fact that I somehow took the Giants. I don't know why I did that. Anyway,
oh wow,
I've got the Eagles at 3. The line's down to 2.5. I think it's a good spot to take the Eagles. Enough firepower to keep up with the Ravens, and then with the Ravens kicking woes, you would expect to be able to stay in the game spread wise. I think the issue is that Philadelphia hasn't beat a team where they didn't dominate the trenches. And so I have a little bit of concern that they won't dominate the trenches per se against the Ravens. But the Ravens, again, haven't looked like world beaters. Another physical grind game for Baltimore. You expect at some point it will take its toll. And the way Saquon's been playing, man, it's hard to think that getting at least a field goal with Philly is a bad play ever this season. So I like that as my favorite play this week.
I like that one too. I like that one.
Another strange line, and I might be a sucker for this, but the Seahawks line, man, is down to +1. I'm not. I got maybe it's the weather, but like for me, the Jets have already said like they don't want to win. Like they're trying to.
The Jets are favored in that game.
Yeah.
Wow.
And not just favorite, but that line is like flipped. It started with the Seahawks favorite.
Yep.
So, I mean that's one of those. This is one of those games where you can just be like, look, Vegas knows, sharps know, et cetera, but like Woody Johnson and this team is the epitome of dysfunction. I just find it hard to believe that they should be favored. Not sure what somebody else knows, but I am hesitant to put a lot of money on it because it's too good to be true, and that's typically when you get some funniness. But for the most part, I mean, everybody's had a revenge game narrative. Like Sam Darnold had a revenge game narrative against the Niners, but I haven't heard anybody talk about Geno revenge game against the Jets. I guess it's so far removed.
That's right.
But but I like Seattle in this game. I think the Jets, again, the team openly talking about tanking, so hard to believe that you would even bet on them, let alone back them. And then
that's blasphemy that they're favored in that game. I don't understand that whatsoever.
I don't know what's going on either. Maybe I'll find out. And then the Broncos laying 5.5 is up to 6 now against the Browns. Just a historical standpoint, the Browns just haven't done well in Mile High. Mile High is, to me, is still the most advantageous home field. And then we had a really good game from James Winston in his last game against the Steelers. And I just know with his inconsistencies, you can kind of bet on him having a down game here with some turnovers. Because he had some passes in that game that should have been turnovers. I think the Broncos are hungry. They got a lot of momentum going for them. I think with the fact that Jameis can turn the ball over, it has blowout potential. So I wouldn't typically lay 6 at this point in the season. I try to strategically go for the smaller lines. I feel like it's less risk. But sometimes, when you have a team that's favorite and rightfully favorite, you can go ahead and do that. I would caution folks in contests to be careful. Don't be like my friend who laid 10 with the Lions. Like, any team that's covered 10 out of 11 games needs to be on fade watch for their next 3 to 4 games. Like, nobody covers at that clip in the NFL, right? So they've already exceeded expectations. There is a school of thought that says to sell high and buy low, right? So in this situation, or just using the Lions as an example, with them being favored by 10, having covered 10 out of 11 games, to me, that was an opportune time to take your shot and taking the Bears to cover. Let alone, I even had a little bit on the Bears to win outright. Obviously, we saw how that ended, but I had them to cover too, which is fine. And so, like, you want to balance that risk reward at this time of year. Like, there's still, to me, there's no bad plays out there because the NFL has been somewhat unpredictable this year. So I just think, like, I wouldn't take 6 with the Browns against the Broncos or take the Browns to upset them. I wouldn't go like that route. But the Cardinals upsetting the Vikings, I could see something like that happening, right? Like, it's just you just want to be calculated. You don't want to get too crazy. One other key game I wanted to speak on: Bengals Steelers. We've talked about the AFC North when teams are getting 3 or more, the rate in which they cover. You want to talk about a team that should never be favored? The Bengals should never be favored over anybody, let alone 3. Now, Steelers could have a terrible game. We are prone to seeing the Mike Tomlin game where they inexplicably play bad and lose. I'm going to say that was that Browns game. They always play bad against the Browns, right?
Sure.
I just think with that Bengals defense, secondary that doesn't really cover anybody, I don't like them being favored there. So if you can get it at 3.5, it's probably a better bet. Contest wise, at 3, maybe a push at worst. But people are going to say the Bengals are desperate. They've been desperate all year. Right?
Exactly. Since they started 1-4 or 0-4 or whatever they were, you're absolutely right.
They could very well win. I just, from a gambling standpoint, I would prefer to get my points with the better defense in that matchup, and an offense that can at least put some points on the board. So I had that marked down as like one of my honorable mention games. And then I would stay away from the Texans just because they're just a goofy team. And then I would hesitate with that Colts team too. That now we talking about time of the season, it's freaking cold in Landover, so I know it's a brick up there in Massachusetts. I would be concerned that the Colts just won't play well in the weather. I keep an eye on that game too, and I think it's kind of showing you that there's some concerns because the Colts laying 2.5. Yeah, it just doesn't seem right. So I keep an eye on that, and then obviously my Niners going against the Bills in like 2 feet of snow. Even if we were healthy, I still wouldn't think we'd win that game. I just would worry about it just being so ugly weather-wise that you only get like 9-6 or 9-3, something like that. I would be concerned about something like that. So I wouldn't bother wasting my time playing that game unless something changes. If the field's not a block of ice, then sure. But Oh, and Rams Saints. I know people are curious about that. I think the Rams can get that. I don't have a problem with that. Just don't let Taysom Hill get you.
Yeah, shut down Taysom Hill. He should be good. He's definitely.
I think he's going to get you.
Outside of Alvin Kamara, he's really the only playmaker on that team. So slow him down. I think they'll be okay.
Yep. So that's pretty much all I got. I know we had a lot of games over the Thanksgiving break and whatever. And so I had the Packers. They covered. I'm probably talking too loud. Packers covered. The Bears covered. Again, don't know why I put the Giants. I'll just say I had too much to drink. And then I actually had the Raiders to cover the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been getting some ridiculous lines, man. and they just haven't shown that they can cover those numbers. So, again, don't be afraid to take the risk. Just be calculated and trust your gut, trust the numbers at this juncture in the season.
For sure. Yeah, I agree on the Chiefs too. They should never be favored by more than like 6.5 this season, man, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They're winning ugly every week, it feels like. But Alan, as always, man, great stuff. Before you hop out of here, why don't you just let everyone know where they can find you?
Twitter and Facebook and Discord. Just at me. It's full name Alan Sandage. I'm probably not going to have a one show this week. I'm going to the ACC Championship and going to take a couple days to myself.
That should be fun.
That.
Yeah, it should be a good game. I mean, I'll have a dog in the fight. Then tomorrow, interviews with Dabo and the coach from SMU, so that should be fun. I'm going to join in and see if I can ask some questions.
Oh, sweet. I like that. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah.
Sure check that out, Alan. All right,
We'll
man.
get some good ones in.
All right, take care.
Thanks,
care, man. All right, guys. So we are running this show a little bit differently. We are going to, start answering your start sit questions now. Do not worry. We have a bunch of them here loaded in the chamber. But everyone who's joining us live now, if you have any start sit questions, there is not a limit. There's not a cap on how many you can ask. Trust me. We've been asked that question before. Ask them all. Ask away. We're in week 13. There's one more week before the playoffs for most leagues here. So I know there's a lot of start sit questions we need to get answered. No bye weeks, and you've already had some weeks here, so maybe some duds from Thursday players, or maybe even the Friday game, and you need to make up some points here. So get those questions in.
Mike, let me stop you real quick. I need to get your thoughts on this too. Why are the Jets favored in that game? I know they're at home against Seattle, but what have they shown to be favored against anybody right now at this moment? That when Alan said that to me, that blew my mind. What are your thoughts on that?
I guess Vegas is rich enough to where they can afford to lose that money.
I mean, I know it's only.
I don't understand it.
I know it's only 1 point, man, but that's something. The Jets have shown us nothing. Breece Hall's banged up. Aaron Rodgers has been banged up all season. I know the receivers are good, but man, I really do not understand that line at all. But I appreciate Albert being here. Good morning to you, man. Dion said good morning as well from Jamie. Appreciate you guys. Matt,
good morning, guys.
What's up? Good morning, Matt. What's going on, man? But Mike, pull up that first start sit question we got, and then we'll just keep on rolling through them here.
All right. The first start sit question we had here from good old Bob Dole. Thanks for always joining us, man. Yes. We're going to help you out just like everybody else who is here. Pick 2 wide receivers. He's got London, Mooney, Addison, Devontae Smith, and Pickens. All right, guys, I know it's kind of, self-explanatory, but, if we don't get it, we're just going to assume it's PPR. So definitely let us know if this is half point PPR, standard PPR. It does make a significant difference. So we are just, we play mostly PPR leagues. So we're going to be, going off of that standard without, that knowledge here. So, Dylan, I'll let you go first. You got Drake London, Mooney, Addison, Devontae Smith, and Pickens. And, as well as I do, Devontae Smith is a game time decision. I know you got that update.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually going to lean Drake London here. He's locked in for me out of these candidates. I know it's not a great matchup against the Chargers, but feel like the Chargers ideally will be winning this one. So the Falcons will be playing from behind. I think they'll need to lean on London. With playing London, I don't think you go with Mooney. With Smith dealing with the hamstring injury, I'm kind of out on him. And you know how I feel about Jordan Addison, Mike. We talked a little bit about it on the Friday show. I'm high on him. He's been good the last few weeks, but maybe, just maybe, this is the week Justin Jefferson gets back into things here. So why not go George Pickens here as my second wide receiver in this instance? Who does Pittsburgh have? I'm blanking on it. They play the Bengals.
Cincinnati.
Also a good matchup.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, the Bengals have been beat up by opposing wide receivers. I know it can be a clunker because the Steelers' offense isn't great. Russell Wilson isn't great quarterback at this point. But if they're going to score points, it's going to be on the ground or it's going to be George Pickens through the air. So give me Pickens here.
If Devontae Smith was 100% healthy and not a game time decision, it would be London and Devontae for me because the matchup is just so juicy for Devontae and the Eagles wide receivers going against this best matchup for wide receivers, the Ravens secondary. But because he's banged up here, give me Pickens, who is 100% healthy and has a good matchup as well, just not as good. So it's London and Pickens. That's a little bit of chalk here, but I do think that both of these guys will have, boom weeks this week.
Yeah. I definitely get the thought of Addison too after him having a couple good weeks here. But yeah, over Pickens in London, that would be hard for me to pull the trigger there.
All right. Defensive question here from Dion. He's got Fred Warner and Buffalo Blizzard or Pratt or Queen. Was thinking of picking up Rose Boom. I mean, I can't.
Fred, I'm gonna go Fred Warner here, Mike, just because I want some skin in the game. If that's gonna be if it's gonna be a snow globe, I want a reason to watch that game for sure. Lock in Fred Warner for me.
Yeah, unfortunately, JJ's not here because of health concerns he's had. But I don't make it want to sound bad, but he just couldn't make it this week. Yeah, strep throat. I didn't want to throw him under the bus, but usually he'd be answering this question. So take this advice with a grain of salt, Dion. I mean, I have to imagine that being in a snow game, there is more opportunity for turnovers, which Fred Warner is a turnover machine. So I think I just lay it safe with Fred Warner in a game where he could definitely maybe pop a few fumbles out and recover those.
Agreed. Next one. I think this one for me is just Trey Hendrickson. I'm going to keep riding that. I've said him every week. He's a double-digit sack guy, so I'm going to keep going with him there.
I mean, the O-line for the Steelers is not great either.
Agreed.
And like you and Alan said, Bengals have been desperate all year long. Trey Hendrickson has been mad at the coaches. You've been seeing it visibly on the sideline. It's either him or Zach Allen, because Zach Allen has been pretty dominant, I feel like, for the Broncos defense. What an ad he has made. But it's Hendrickson, and if you don't want to go Hendrickson, you can go Allen. Those are the only two I'd be really deciding between. What's up, Brian? Thanks for joining us, man. He needs to know half-point PPR. Should he start James Conner or Brian Robinson? I'll let you go first.
Man, I feel about James Robinson or James Conner. He just got
Robinson's retired.
James Robinson, poor guy, man. Great rookie season, then just injuries took a toll, tearing his Achilles, all that. But James Conner just got the extension from the Cardinals. Good for him. Happy for him. I don't know how people feel about Trey Benson now in the dynasty aspect. I like Connor a lot, but I'm going to lean Brian Robinson here. No, Austin Eckler actually was added to IR. Brian Robinson totally off the injury report too. So that scary ankle injury that we saw last week can probably be put behind us. So I'm going to ride him here. The only other guy really behind him is Jeremy McNichols. Maybe we see a little bit of Chris Rodriguez, but yeah, it's Brian Robinson here for me, especially in half-point PPR. Let's see if he even gets more work at the passing game, Mike. Or do you think that's just going to go to McNichols now? Do you think that'll be the case?
I mean, if Robinson's still a little hampered by the injury as well, because one of those things about the high ankle sprain is you either miss 3 weeks or you don't, and it doesn't seem like he's going to miss 3 weeks. So I'm just a little worried that they might just lean on McNichols more in that Eckler role. Use Brian Robinson like they we're using him, but maybe a little bit less sparingly. But at the same time, James Conner does have a tough matchup, third toughest matchup for running backs, only allowing 17.5 fantasy points. Like, Conner could get involved in the passing game a little bit more. Last 3 games, he's got 13 targets and has caught all 13 of them. But I mean, that's just 4 targets a game, and unless he takes those to the house, which James Conner is an efficiency back, a volume back, he's not going to break one. So it's going to be a low volume week for James Conner. He's going to be, I think, he's a safe 5 to 8 points. That's what he's going to get this week. Safe 5 to 8 points, but I think Brian Robinson can actually get a touchdown this week.
Hopefully, too, man.
That'd be nice. Oh man, Jamie asked this one on I feel before. I remember it. It's
the Friday show. Yeah, I appreciate it. too. I'm still going to lean Josh Palmer here. I just say what you want to say about it, but Herbert trusts this guy, man. We saw it in late in the second half last week. So I'm going to lean Palmer, and it's just not looking good for ETN. Their offensive line is bad. Their offense as a whole is bad. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is back, so I guess that's good for the offense as a whole, maybe. But yeah, I don't. Well, Tank's back, Bigsby's back as well, so that's going to eat into ETN's workload. So I'm going to go Josh Palmer. Unfortunately, the floor isn't there. Like, we could see one catch for 12 yards on 5 targets or something, but maybe we see 5 for 50 and a touchdown from Palmer here. So that's where I live.
Yeah, the floor is a little bit safer with ETN. I think he's kind of like Connor here, where he's probably going to get you like 5 to 7 points. But man, it's so hard to start ETN. I mean, hopefully getting Trevor Lawrence back in the lineup will get the passing game going for ETN because, man, it's been brutal. He hasn't really even been involved in the passing game as far, lately. I'm trying to pull it up here. Just 7 targets the past 3 games he's played. That's not how he was originally, involved here. So if Trevor Lawrence can get him involved more, that can get that floor up a little bit more. I just got to see it first. God damn it. I can't do it. I got to go ETN. It's just safer. He's going to get more touches because I remember hearing Justin Herbert after the game about Quentin Johnston. He was asked about, him not,
him
dropping
stinking.
all those.
You can say
pretty much.
He's stuck.
and Justin Herbert said it don't matter. I'm going right back to him. So that makes me worry about Josh Palmer. Like, I know he was going to Palmer that game because Johnson was struggling, but like if he's going to go right back to Johnson, I mean, bye Palmer again. And ETN, can at least get you 5 to 7 points where Palmer might get you 1 or 2 or 3. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying.
I hear you 100%.
The goose.
It's in the realm of possibility of that happening for sure.
So it's like, give me the safe and secure touches with ETN, even if it's only 5 points. Because I mean, if this was a different option other than Palmer, I'd probably be going with it.
Yeah.
Like as stupid as it sounds, like, and I know he's already played like Wan'Dale Robinson. I would take Wan'Dale Robinson over Josh Palmer just because he's safer, gonna get those stupid targets. All right, Gary. Feel like he asks this question every week, and I'm surprised Geno Smith is not involved in this question. Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix?
I answered this elsewhere, and I think I actually go Bo Nix here. I suppose it's not. I'm not super opposed of going with Jaden. I know obviously the rushing floor is spectacular, but my issue with that is they get a icky matchup against the Titans. I feel like the Titans aren't great, but they keep every game close and they try to muck it up. And their defense is not spectacular, but it's solid enough to the point where I think they're going to slow down Jaden Daniels a little bit this week. Denver gets the Browns on Monday Night Football primetime. So I'm going to go Knicks. I'm going to go Knicks in a decent.
Gary, I really don't want you to win because I need you to lose. So if you want to lose, play Jaden. If you want to win, play Knicks. Better matchup. Better matchup is Knicks. Browns are the 8th best matchup for QBs here. Titans have been not as great as of late, but they are still better of a defense against QBs than the Browns. So I would go Bo Nix here, and you get the Monday night kicker.
The issue I have, Mike, with going Nix over Jaden is because Jaden could just punch us in the mouth here. That like he could have an absolute blow up week just out of nowhere, 2 rushing touchdowns, another 2 through the air. Like that's in the realm of possibility. That's not in the realm of possibility for Bo Nix. So I get it, Gary. If you want to go Jaden Daniels for a little bit more upside than Bo Nix, then go Jaden. But yeah, I still lean Nix there. Especially in our
8 touchdowns
in our league that you're asking. Just for everybody listening, people might be thinking, wow, this guy's stupid. This league also is 10 points or 1 point for every 10 passing yards. So it helps a little bit more of the pocket passers here and evens out the rushing floor for quarterbacks. if you're thinking we're silly for saying Nix over Jaden, but that's where I ultimately lean here.
Bo Nix, the last 3 games, 8 touchdowns, 0 picks, 795 passing yards. That's 79 points in our league right there. Add in 42 more for the touchdowns. So, yeah, give me Bo Nix. Brian's got a QB question himself. He wants to know, should he start Jalen Hurts or Jaden Daniels? It's hard to start Jalen Hurts. I know he's been brutal back-to-back week QB 15.
Hard to start or hard to sit?
Hard to sit.
Okay, thank you.
I think this is a perfect get-right match for Jalen Hurts to be back in the top 10 at the very least. And before this back-to-back stretch of QB 15 finishes, he was 4 straight weeks to top 5. So the rushing touchdowns, have gone away a little bit because Saquon has been stepping up. So is the passing touchdowns because, the injury, it seems like to Devontae Smith is hurting this pass offense more than I would have anticipated. But yeah, only 2 touchdowns for Jalen Hurts the past 2 games. So I think, we're going to get some regression to the mean here with Hurts. So you stick with Hurts.
Yeah, Mike, and Hurts has just been hurt. No pun intended there. With the lack of passing volume in this offense, which I think is going to see an uptick in this one with the Ravens being a pass funnel defensively. Like, it's tough to run on the Ravens. Like, I know it's Saquon Barkley. He's going to get his, I'm sure, because it's freaking Saquon Barkley. But
he's going to get his through the Ravens allowed I believe it was the 4th most receptions to running backs on the year, which is Barkley's forte. So I really think that's where Barkley shines today. He might not have an efficient day on the ground, but neither running back is going to in this matchup, with the Ravens and the Eagles.
Agreed there. Yeah. So that's
I think
where
more
I
of a
lean
bust
Jalen
potential is Derrick Henry, if anything.
Yeah. We may see
benefit.
I'm going with Hurts because we may see 30 pass attempts in this game, to be honest with you. He always has the upside to score on the ground as well with his tush push and stuff, obviously. So.
And you see the potential of passes to Barkley here instead of just runs to Barkley, which has been the downfall to Jalen Hurts. Is last week Barkley took 2 70-yard rushing touchdowns to the house, not a passing touchdown. But if it's hard to do that against the Ravens, expect maybe a 70-yard screen for a touchdown from Barkley this week, which definitely benefits Hurts.
Yeah.
Thanks,
sure,
Bob
man.
Dole. We appreciate, love you too.
Yeah, love you too, man. Always joining our stuff. Really appreciate it.
So his question is actually standard, not PPR. Does it change your answer at all? It does not change mine.
No, it doesn't. London and Pickens have the most touchdown upside on this out of these options, so I'm still leaning Pickens and London for me.
All right, Dan's got another defensive question here, and I can't sit Kyle Hamilton. I know, we're not the defensive guys here, Dion, but I think the chalk plays Kyle Hamilton. Just go with it, especially if he's healthy. I know he's been a little banged up recently. If he's healthy, play him. Carey here. He wants to ride the lightning with Westbrook Akini, or play it safe for Shakir.
Can I just read this weather report from Mad FF Dynasty at Twitter about the San Francisco at Buffalo game? And I've been trying to tell this to people. I know Alan was worried about the weather. 20-mile-an-hour winds, gusts up to 25 to 30 miles an hour. That's not great.
So there is wind now. There is wind now.
There is wind now.
You said there was no wind.
Correct. But Matt goes on to say here, I think this game is not going to be as bad as the media is making it out to be. Yes, there's plenty of snowfall this weekend in Buffalo. And even this morning, we could continue to see some snow showers. But the worst of the snow should have finished by midday. With the snow band now passing more south of Orchard Park, the field will be covered in snow, but it should be no issue. They'll get it cleared. The wind is a little sketchy. This is me talking now. The wind is a little sketchy now that it could be 20, 25 mile an hour winds at times. So for me, that means get those kickers out of your lineups, guys. But to be honest with you, I know Jamie posted it on the Friday show. Wind doesn't really affect quarterback play until it gets to like 23 miles an hour, Mike. And who has the best arm in football? Probably. He'd probably say Josh Allen, right? Pretty dang close. So I'm going to lean Khalil Shakir here over Westbrook Akine, if I'm being honest with you. I think Shakir is going to get the short intermediate stuff like he always does from the slot. And I think he's got a solid 5 for 50 in him, which I know Ikeda is catching a touchdown every week, man, and it has been. And it sucks if you haven't been playing him while he's been scoring the touchdowns. But I'm still going to go the safety with Shakir. Who does Tennessee play? They get, we just talked about it. They get the Commanders.
I look at it like this.
They just released Manny Forbes. Yeah, it's close, but I'm still going to go Shakir.
I look at it like this. It's the Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad. You can't keep getting away with this with Westbrook Ikini. 6 touchdowns in the past 7 games. Can you guess how many receptions? 6 touchdowns on how many receptions, Dylan?
12.
17. 17 receptions, 6 of them have been touchdowns. This is just a astronomically high touchdown rate that Westbrook Ikini is having. And the thing is like he can't sustain this. And in the past 7 games played for him, he has 30 targets. 30 targets. That is not enough targets to be playing him. He's touchdown or bust. That is it. And I mean, I get it. He's a desperation throw in there for deep leagues because, he can get that touchdown. But it's, if he doesn't get that touchdown, like week 10, he's wide receiver 55 in PPR formats, which I'd rather have Shakir, who's just going to be safer even in a snowstorm.
Yeah. And guys, if you're not following Matt FF Dynasty on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, make sure to do so. He does really good stuff, and his weather reports are great every single Sunday. So he's not affiliated with us, but I'll shout out guys who do really good stuff, and he's one of them. So make sure to check his stuff out.
This one's a fun one, Nick. Thanks for joining us, man. Non-PPR, standard, Kyle Pitts or Will Dissly?
I don't know what to go here, Mike. Go first. You know my love for the dismissal, so it's hard for me to pick one here, so I'll let you go first.
I mean, the way it's kind of turning out, beginning of the season, we would have said Kyle Pitts has more touchdown upside, but it's definitely Will Dissly and the Chargers offense that has more touchdown upside at this point. Their offense is looking a lot better than this Atlanta offense, but they are coming off the bye. Kyle Pitts targets.
Atlanta, they don't care about him, Mike. They don't care about Kyle Pitts. They drafted him with the 8th overall pick, whatever it is, but they
don't really care about Dissly either.
I mean, he's probably the second or third target on that offense, though. That's my problem. Kyle Pitts is the 3rd at best, too. I'd say the 4th because you got Drake London. They'd rather use him. They'd obviously rather throw to Darnell Mooney. We've seen that all year. They'd rather use Bijan Robinson in the past game, too.
Throw in Ray McLeod.
Yeah, every once in a while with end arounds and jet sweeps and stuff like that, and just the short intermediate stuff with McLeod. That's what scares me about Pitt. He could get you 0. No problem, Mike. Kind of similar to what we were talking about Josh Palmer, ETN. I don't think Will Dissly's going to get you 0. Can he get you 2 for 22? Sure. But so can Kyle Pitts.
I look at it like this in standard. Who's got the best touchdown upside? I mean,
they both have
Falcons do have a decent matchup this week, if I remember correctly.
The Chargers, they play one another.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Actually, no, I'll take Will Dissly in that one. Definitely more of a touchdown upside on the Chargers side.
That's where I lean as well.
Falcons don't generate any pressure. I mean, maybe, like Herbert's been going to Dissly in pressure. I don't know those statistics, but that could be the only downfall I see Dissly here is just no pressure. Maybe they don't go to Dissly and Herbert can just pick him apart with any wide receiver.
Sure.
But Will Dissly. He said Harrison Smith or Kyle Hamilton. It's still Kyle Hamilton for me.
Yep. Yep, stay there.
No, it's Gary. It's 6 of 7 games, not 7 of 8.
Fair enough.
I'm looking at the stat. Oh, Darnell Mooney or Michael Pittman Jr. half-point PPR, and you got
no Josh Downs, right?
Yeah. No Josh Downs out with shoulder injury. Oh man, Pittman last 3 games, 19 targets. That was with Downs though, and then you got Mooney, who's had 22 targets, but he is dealing with that Achilles injury that has popped up as of late. Chargers have been much more susceptible on the ground as of late compared to through the air. I think I just would rather go with Man, I mean, the volume, here's the thing, is like Pittman's going to get like, what, 30% of the target share, but what's that equate to? 7 targets? For Anthony Richardson.
It's hit or miss with Christian Gonzalez too. He's going to draw a lot of Christian Gonzalez.
I heard a stat by Mike.
I think JT's actually gonna smash for the Colts this week. So I don't know if there's much left over for Pittman to go here. So I think I lead Mooney actually, Mike.
Mike Clay had a stat here that when Christian Gonzalez shadows, I believe wide receivers have been averaging 12 points per game, and then that's PPR. So probably knock down to like 9, 10 and half point PPR. I look at it like, the Falcons need to throw more this game, or Mooney could have a potential 10 target game here. So give me Mooney. Hopefully those 10 targets equate to more points than what Pittman's going to get. Jamie says he still leans Palmer, just double checking. It's really like the ETN boost. It gets a boost with Trevor Lawrence starting, especially if Trevor Lawrence is hurt. He's not going to be throwing down the field. He's just going to be dumping it off the ETN. It's kind of like how I see it, because Tank Bigsby does not get those targets. What's up, Young Native? Thanks for joining us here. Another Chiefs fan. I can tell by the Tyreek Hill.
Nico Collins. It's Nico Collins. Nico Collins all day, every day, man. The dude is legit. The dude is top 5 wide receiver in all of football. Would you go out on that limb of saying that? No? Not fantasy football, just a top 5 receiver.
I'd say at least 6 or 7. 6 or 7, but
yeah. Hashtag good at football. Tank Dell's been better as of late, but man, it's Nico Collins. Dude's awesome.
First game against Jacksonville this year, week 4, he had 15 targets, 12 receptions, 151 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver 1 finish.
Yeah.
So
he's the number 1 target. He's the number 1 read for CJ Stroud all the time, and he has to go to his number 1 read because that offensive line is booty, son. So Nico Collins, gimme.
Jamie wants to know Brian Thomas or Sutton. That one's easily Sutton, even with Trevor Lawrence in, because if he's banged up, like I said, he's not going to be throwing downfield. And Sutton's just been on a heater. 3 top 10 finishes the past 4 weeks, and the other one was wide receiver 26, which isn't even a bad finish.
Yeah, I'm going to lean Sutton here with these options as well. Clayton wants to hear my thoughts, man. I know. Enough. I wasn't sure if you're going to do it or not. It's nice. Obviously, it sucks him losing his job the day after Thanksgiving. That's tough for him personally. But I'm happy they finally moved on, Clayton. What could you do after what we saw the last month from the way those games have finished? The locker room had turned on him. There was a report that came out by Adam Johns yesterday that Eberflus had to excuse himself out of the locker room because Jalen Johnson was losing his mind after that game, which is totally understandable. Absolutely pathetic. Thomas Brown being upgraded to interim head coach is nice. I would rather him not be the head coach moving forward if that's the way they go. It'd be disappointing if they don't interview a bunch of other candidates and do their due diligence there.
You got the update. Come on, for Cliff Kingsbury. You don't want to brag about that?
Yeah. Someone who they interviewed to be their OC this year is now all of a sudden one of their top candidates for the head coaching job next year. Make it make sense, everybody. Same thing with Thomas Brown. That's why I'm struggling so bad for it. Thomas Brown was interviewed to be the offensive coordinator for the Bears. They chose Shane Waldron over him, Mike. Which put Thomas Brown...
we know that was a bad decision, though.
They then hired Thomas Brown as a passing game coordinator, and then we know, obviously, he got bumped up to OC, and now he's your head coach after not choosing him to be your OC. It's just mind-boggling to me.
Usually they go... Usually teams will go with the special teams coach because, the thing with the special teams coach is they work with both sides of the,
right.
They know defense, they know offense, they can talk to everybody, kind of galvanize everything. When it's just the offensive guy, he is, doing things as a group, I've seen in the reports, which is going to help things out, but it's, usually the special teams guy, but it doesn't always work out either. You got an instance like the Jets here with Ulbrich, where it's just completely downhill since they fired Robert Saleh. But then you got, the Rizzler in New Orleans who's been on fire since, they've, fired Dennis Allen. So it could work. It's 50-50. At least you're getting a guy that's offensive minded. That's something you guys aren't accustomed to. It's always been defense, and your offense has just been so stagnant. So maybe, Thomas Brown can unlock your offense a little bit better.
It'll be interesting, though, man, because Brown had been calling plays up in the box the last 3 weeks since he's taken over. And obviously that's done wonders for Caleb. Now he's on the field. Now he's got to be the head coach. Now he has to call plays. We'll see how he does. This is a dress rehearsal to see if he can do it. And I guess we will find out over these next 5 games because the schedule does not ease up, Mike. They play San Francisco. They still got another game against the Lions, got another game against the Vikings. They have another game against the Packers. So we'll find out real quick how this team responds and what they think of Thomas Brown as their head coach. But enough talk about the Bears. Let's dive right back into these questions. Mike, pull them up.
Yeah, and guys, get those questions in. We got 6 people watching right now. You do not have a cap. Ask as many as you want, guys. On to the next one here. He's got Irving and Rachaad White. Do I double dip or sit White and start Jonathan Taylor? You absolutely do that. Yeah, yep. You play Irving and Taylor in this one, unless you got a terrible flex matchup. Then you can put in White. Yeah.
Irving's the lock it in type of guy now, and Jonathan Taylor, the great matchup against New England, who's so
bounce back
against the run. He's gonna have a bounce back. I fully expect Jonathan Taylor to at least fall in the end zone one time this week. So,
Eddie, thanks for joining us, man. He's got Kyler, Trevor Lawrence, Russell Wilson. I can't start Trevor Lawrence coming off the injury week 1. And I cannot start Russell Wilson. Even in a good matchup we saw against the Ravens, he cannot get it done. I think I just lean on Kyler. I know he's been a roller coaster. Hopefully it's not a bottom week for Kyler, but he just offers you just a safer floor than Russell Wilson, who's not running the ball, and Trevor Lawrence is probably not going to be running the ball off of this injury.
Agree. Yeah, it's Kyler for me as well. I know it's been a roller coaster, like you said. It just is what it is. Ride the roller coaster, Eddie, this week. Houston or Tampa defense, Mike, where you got here?
Yeah, Houston's got Jaguars defense, and then Tampa has... Trying to find it out here. Can't find Tampa.
Give me a
Panthers.
second. Yeah.
Bryce Young.
Better. Man. Their offense has kind of figured it out a little bit. Tampa Bay's defense kind of stinks too. They've kind of stunk all year. So
they were good against DeVito and the Giants, but that was DeVito and the Giants.
Yeah. Yep.
I still think I lean Houston here with Trevor Lawrence coming back. Bryce Young, I said it on Friday's show if you haven't checked it out. Bryce Young, mark it now, will have his best game of his NFL career today against Tampa Bay. The matchup for QBs is just so good for when you're playing the Buccaneers. Second best matchup. I believe the stat was 6 QB, 1 QB, 1 finishes this year, and then 2 QB 13 finishes as well, allowed by Tampa. So yeah, it's not bad. Cooper Rush, QB 1, Daniel Jones, QB 1. So yeah, I think Bryce Young can get it done.
Yeah.
Quentin Johnston or Michael Pittman?
Michael Pittman for me there. I can't do Quentin Johnston, man. What a butthead. He duped us, Mike.
I don't think he duped us, man. Everybody has a bad week.
Yeah, I guess. The problem is he had a whole bad season last year, too. That's the issue I have with him.
I mean, he was a rookie. He was a rookie. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, Pittman for me still.
I think it's Pittman is the safer floor, with Downs out. But I do like Johnson this week. I'm willing to play Johnson, even off of the goose egg. Like who are you more willing to play off of the goose egg? Christian Watson, which I know you can't play, or Quentin Johnston. Like I feel like I still would play Quentin Johnston over Christian Watson, and both those players have given me gooses.
Yeah, I suppose.
All right, and then the Smitty is Purdy playing 100%. We haven't gotten the update. It is 10:29 right now, Central Standard Time. They usually come out in about...
Purdy's the late game. We won't know anyways. Purdy's the Monday night. We won't know till then.
Oh, no, we will. I got it right now. Pete Pete Schrager, Brock Purdy, right shoulder, will play week 13, isn't 100% healthy.
Oh, good.
So, I mean, he is 100% playing. He's just not 100% healthy, Smitty. So take that as you will.
Let's just roll right into the question he asked about it, though.
Okay.
Mike, I switched it over. We got May, Purdy, Stafford, Young. Go Stafford for me. Again, a really, really good matchup. The Rams get the Saints. The secondary's banged up. Obviously, traded Lattimore earlier this year. Their
defense has been better as of late.
Yeah, I still don't like it. I like Stafford here with his weapons and them rolling. So give me that here. I think it's a safe play. Like Mike, go ahead, finish this one.
Well, I was just gonna say I don't feel comfortable playing Purdy, without him being 100% because there is a good chunk of his fantasy value that has come through the ground. Rushing touchdowns for Purdy, and if he's not 100%, I cannot see him, doing that still. Especially after seeing that last game from Brandon Allen or whatever his name is. So I lean Stafford or Young. I actually think Young has the higher ceiling this week because of the matchup. But we have actually seen the ceiling for Stafford before, so I go Stafford.
Would you go?
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is officially.
Would you go Matt Stafford or would you go Josh Allen in the snow? I had this question this morning.
I'd go Josh Allen because of the rushing value he can add in a snow game. We've seen it before. He'll run the ball.
Yeah. I couldn't lean that way too. I don't.
If it was our scoring, I'd go Stafford.
It is our scoring.
That is our scoring.
Yeah.
That where it's.
I'm sure you could figure out who I'm asking you for.
Well, I'm sure I can. Yeah, but then it's Stafford 100%. If Josh Allen can't throw the ball, I mean, the rushing touchdowns are nice, but the rushing, but it's it's not in our scoring where it really does even out rushing quarterbacks. So there's not as much as a cheat code. If you can't pass the ball, you really don't have a ceiling in this league. And I don't know if Josh Allen will be able to pass the ball, for 200 yards in the snow and 25-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
So I'd lean Stafford in that scenario. Angelo, Bears have the toughest schedule this season. Good luck to the new coach. I agree. They need Mike Ditka. Angelo said, I don't need advice. I can screw my team up on my own. Thanks. I mean, we're here to help, man. Angelo. Not screw anybody's teams up. The only team I want to screw up,
we still screw it up.
the only team I want to screw up this week is Gary's because I need him to lose for me to make it into the playoffs. But I still gave him the right answer when it was Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix. It's Bo Nix.
You got Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers here from Clayton.
Oh my. Steelers play the Bengals. Aaron Rodgers plays the Seahawks. Man. That's brutal. Let me go look at their give some thoughts here while I look up what they've done the last 3 weeks.
I don't want any part of the Jets. That's kind of my thoughts. I know they're favored in this one, man, but I don't see it from A-Rod. It just hasn't been great. The offense is still out of whack. It stinks. I'm going to go Russell Wilson. I know it's not always pretty here, but it's a good matchup against the Bengals who haven't been able to stop anybody through the air. So give me all that.
Man, this is tough. I mean, both options are brutal here, so don't give me. We're gonna help here, but there's not much to help with when you're dealing with the QB 29 and QB 31 the past 3 weeks. So, honestly, if you have another option, go get another option because those
it's super flex. He said he just commented said he has Richardson already, so it's his second quarterback play.
I was gonna say because those have been brutal. So I mean. All right, give me Aaron Rodgers, and I know this doesn't help Clayton because Dylan went Russell Wilson. I look at it this way. If the Steelers get what they want against the Bengals, Russell Wilson ain't throwing the ball. He's not going to have over 30 passing attempts. If the Steelers can control this game and muck it up against the Bengals, where Aaron Rodgers is going against the Seahawks, Geno Smith is last 3 games to play. Actually, no, there it is. Last 3 games played, he has 97 passing attempts. So he's averaging over 30 attempts a game here. So I just feel like there's more passing volume, a little bit more offered with Rodgers. Plus, he's got better weapons, some more touchdown upside.
Yeah, for sure. think that's the last live one, though, Mike. If you want to go ahead, switch over to the questions we got from the Facebook fantasy football discussion Facebook group, guys. If you want to go in there, talk some fantasy football on Facebook, check that out. Jamie runs the group, does a really good job. I think there's over 40,000 people in there, and yeah, that's the fantasy football discussion on Facebook. So make sure to check that out, guys.
Yeah, and if you guys have any more live questions, get them in.
We got one. What other QB would you start with Stafford? It said pick 2. Oh, our bad, Schmitty.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I didn't.
May Young or Purdy.
That's Young. I'd be starting Young with the good matchup. It's Young and Stafford.
I'm not telling anyone to start Bryce Young. Like, I can't do it. I'm gonna still lean Purdy there, but I don't have an issue with you telling someone to do it.
Of course you don't.
I can't come to. I'm gonna go Purdy still, just because
he's been
of the
better
weapons.
the past 3 weeks. Each game, he was QB 14 last
I agree.
week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he's guaranteed at least like a QB 13 floor here with the Tampa Bay Bucks matchup. Because the Buccaneers are going to score. They're going to have to throw the ball. Young has been better.
Yeah. We got another one for Dion. Here's Dion's lineup: Mayfield, Kamara, Evans, Nakua, Kelsey, Aubrey, Taylor, Irving, Warner. I like it, Dion. I do. I like what Puka could do against New Orleans. I think Baker Mayfield, we talked about it on the Friday show. Ike said he's locked and loaded, top 5 QB this week. Jamie said he was too low on Mayfield. Mayfield's going to smash this week. Love the matchup against Carolina. Kamara solid. Obviously, I have a feeling with Baker going off.
55 rushing yards against the Rams last week, so Kamara can easily get a chunk of that this week.
Yeah, man. And if I think Mayfield's going to have a big day, that means Mike Evans is going to have a big day. He finds the end zone at least once here. So, yeah, I'm a fan of that lineup for sure, man. No issues with it for me. You're muted, my friend.
I know. I was getting the questions here. All right, Brandon, on the fantasy football discussion, CMC or Brian Robinson? CMC is
go McCaffrey. Yeah, I think that's still the locked and loaded play.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe at this point in the season that I think CMC is healthier than Brian Robinson. With the Achilles news that we had earlier, CMC. Man. But yeah, give me CMC. Garrett has start Baker Mayfield or Bo Nix.
It's Baker. That's Baker for me, man. I kid. Not against Carolina. You got to start your quarterbacks against Carolina. So yeah, I'm gonna go Baker. You're not gonna find a better matchup, Mike. You're not gonna find a better matchup.
The Ravens. The Ravens are a better matchup. What's up, Brandon? Thanks for joining us, man. If you got any questions, give them away. We got you.
Yeah, thanks for popping in. We appreciate you.
Man, I'll go with Baker too, but he has been disappointing without Godwin, in my opinion. The rushing touchdown definitely gave him a better floor last week. Jordan hurt
the Italian DeVito dance after it. That was kind of mean, man.
I'm over it. Justin Herbert or Jaden Daniels from Jordan?
Sorry, go again.
Justin Herbert or Jaden Daniels?
I think I answered it. I said Jaden Daniels slightly, so I'm gonna stick to it, and that's where I'm gonna go. It's close, it really is, but I'm gonna go Jaden Daniels. Maybe I'm a little bit burnt about Herbert struggling in the matchup last week in a great matchup against the Ravens. Another good matchup for him. But yeah, I'm still going to go Daniels slightly.
So the big stink on why I was off Daniels last week was because he was not really running the ball effectively. Against Philly, it was 7 for 18. He struggled to throw the ball. We know he was dealing with that injury, so I wasn't sure how he was going with that. Last week, he had 7 rushes for 74 yards and a touchdown. So I mean, yep. he looked much. Yeah, he looked much better. It looks like the rib is a little bit healthier. If not, maybe doubtful it's fully healthy. But if he can give you that sort of floor, it's Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Oh, Baker or Herbert?
Baker. Still.
Yeah, it's Baker. We do have some live one here.
Pop Brandon's up there for us.
Alec Pierce was officially active for this morning. So he's got Keon Coleman, Alec Pierce, Ricky Pearsall. I think Coleman is out in the snow game, which leaves us Pearsall and Alec Pierce. I mean, Purdy is healthy, so that does give a little bit of an uptick. I mean, he's not healthy, but he's starting. So it does give you a uptick to Pearsall. Man,
the safer play? I sound like you know. It's probably Pearsall, even though I'm pretty sure he's coming off a 0 last week for Brandon Allen. But I think I lean Alec Pierce here with the big play upside. Anthony Richardson barely missed him last week on a long touchdown, and that's where Alec Pierce is gonna get his offensive production. I know they're playing in cold, frigid temperatures in New England. I'm sure of it, but I think I still lean Alec Pierce slightly.
I mean, you get the uptick of potential volume here with Josh Downs out as well. So I think that's, Pearsall last 3 games, 8 targets. Alec Pierce last 3 games, 15 targets. Save for Flores, Alec Pierce, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
Yeah, it's I'm all right with going Pierce. Go Pierce, Brandon. I like it.
Yeah, if you got any more, get them in there. All right, Josh Allen or Bo Nix? Ooh. If this was our scoring, Dylan, 100% Bo Nix. I'm going with this. 100% Bo Nix with the 795 passing yards the last 3 games, 8 passing touchdowns, and he plays Cleveland on Monday night, so it's in Mile High. So man, but with the rushing value that Josh Allen I think is going to provide today, he may have 80 yards and like 2 rushing touchdowns in this snow game if he cannot pass the ball. So it's Josh Allen in normal scoring.
Agreed.
Sit one, Bucky or Chuba Hubbard?
Sit one?
Yeah, sit one. You got Panthers. They're on opposite sides. Panthers against the Buccaneers. So Chuba against Buccaneers. And
Chuba, unfortunately. Bucky's locking in borderline RB1 every week, man. It's like 12 to 15, RB 12 to 15. Yeah.
If he's going to get the passing volume. Brian's got Kittle in the snow or Goddard in Baltimore.
I mean, Goddard is the number 2 target in the passing game, ideally, unless you count Saquon. I'm going to go Kittle still.
And if Devontae Smith is ruled out, I'm really leaning Goddard on this one. I do like Purdy, though, because even in the snow, I feel like he's going to find Kittle. That's been his boy all year long. It's hard to sit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to sit the tight end one here, so I'm going to go with Kittle even in the snow.
Yeah. We got a good question here from Brandon, Mike. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. To me, Brandon, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. Ideally, you don't want that to happen. Because you just want to watch afternoon football. You just want to have some skin in the game for afternoon football and prime time. But I don't think it's an issue, Mike. What about you?
I definitely have an issue with it, and sometimes I do let it affect my lineups. I do like having a Monday night game in there. Well, I do like it to be like a kicker or a defense, ideally. Do I let it affect my lineup decisions all the time? No, but it does sometimes. It does affect, because I do worry about having my whole team play at noon. And then, like my opponent has like 2 guys on Sunday night, 1 on Monday night. And I'm sitting there going, oh man, I need to get the biggest lead possible. And if I don't, I'm done. Because it's just worry until Monday night is done pretty much.
That's honestly a great question, man. I like that a lot.
It definitely makes me worry.
Yeah, not one normally that we get. Yeah, Brandon says the same with him.
It's like when you're making decisions about start-sit lineups with your favorite teams. Occasionally, it's going to happen where you let it affect you a little bit, but just don't do it all the time. And that's what it is, how I kind of treat it. It's going to affect me from time to time, but not all the time.
Yeah. Now we got a question in the Discord here from our guy Jason Beckner, one of our baseball writers and podcasters over at F6P. Would you go Kyler or Anthony Richardson, Mike, this week? Good matchup for Anthony Richardson against New England.
It is a good matchup against New England. And the Cardinals play the Vikings. I still lean Kyler. They're going to have to throw the ball. Kyler can even run the ball because they're not going to be able to run the ball on the ground with James Conner against the Vikings. But if they're going to be giving blitz packages to Kyler, he is good against the blitz, and he's just going to take off running. So if he's either going to be running himself or he's going to be throwing the ball. So I lean Kyler in that one. I do think it's a little bit safer of a week for him because of the matchup where the Vikings are just more of a pass funnel.
Yep, for sure. I'm with Kyler as well. Guys, if you want to be a part of the Discord, head on over to fantasy6pack.net/plan. Sign up to become an all-access member. You get access to all the priority there. Yep, we do have some free channels over there where you can just come and talk ball. Oh God, buddy.
Good job.
Yeah. Guys, if you're here too, we appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already. We really do appreciate it. We got another one here, Mike, from one of the subscribers in the Discord I want to pull up. He's asking you, who would you start at wide receiver 2 and the flex? His options are Terry McLaurin, Bucky Irving. That's who he's got in right now. And he's also got Breece Hall on his bench, Juwan Jennings on his bench, and Marvin Harrison Jr. on his bench. He has
Lord.
He has McLaurin and Irving.
Take out
McLaurin
McLaurin and put in Marv. I mean, that's just me personally, but we did get the update. John Gannon talked to Tom Pelissero before the game because they are in Minnesota and Pelissero is a Vikings fan. So he interviewed the Cardinals head coach and he said, Marvin Harrison only has 10 catches the past 3 games. Jonathan Gannon, don't worry. We're going to get Marvin Harrison involved this week against the Vikings. So
he's a liar.
I mean, maybe he is a liar, but I mean, like I said, the Vikings are a pass funnel. So give me Marv instead of McLaurin, who has only seen 17 targets the past 3 weeks. Which I mean is about what Marv has had the past 3 weeks also, but give me the better matchup.
You go at Bucky over McLaurin still?
Yes.
And Bucky over Breece Hall?
That one's a tough one here, but if Breece is banged up a little bit, give me Bucky in a better matchup.
Yep, I'm with you. It's Bucky for me as well.
All right. I got another Breece Hall question here. Carrie, flex 1 full point PPR, Breece Hall, Rashad White, Taysom Hill, or Brian Robinson?
Brian Robinson. With no Austin Eckler for me, that's where I lean. Yeah.
I think I go Breece Hall with that one. I go because the only other, I am honestly thinking Taysom Hill might have a day with that 255 rushing yards allowed by Saquon last week. Like if Taysom and Kamara can get that combined, 130, 120 each, Taysom's going to have himself a day. But it's feast or famine with him. So I give me Breece. So I think if he's healthy, he's going to get more of a workload. He's going to get his 15 touches at least. Gus Edwards or Rashad White?
Rashad White. I'm not all in on Gus, man. The more and more I looked at it, Mike, I know I was happy about getting him off of waivers as a Dobbins owner, but that's really the only reason why at this point. They're going to work in Vidal. They're going to work in Hassan Haskins. I don't think Gus Edwards at this point, I could be wrong, # not very good at football right now. And he's been dinged up most of the year. Watch him find the end zone twice now or something silly. But yeah, I'm not all in on Gus Edwards as I initially thought. So I'm going to go Rashad White still in a good matchup against Carolina. Yeah, I know I'm talking up Bucky, but that doesn't mean Rashad also can't have a good day.
I mean, he has been good with Bucky as well. I still lean Gus though. It's just the volume aspect here. I think he's just going to get more touches. Because the thing is Rashad White gets involved in the passing game, and if the Buccaneers are up, he's probably not going to be involved too much in the passing game. So I go Gus Edwards on that one, but it's going to be an inefficient day, and I do think he just gets more volume.
All right. We got one from Stuffy in here. Shakir or Leggett, Mike? Are you buying into the Bryce Young this month? Okay.
I'm going not this month, but this game.
This much, I can't struggle talking.
Yeah, Shakir in the snow and the wind doesn't help a whole lot. But I definitely go Leggett, who's actually not been bad as of late. Try to find him here.
Yeah, while you're looking, I'm gonna go Shakir. I think he's that's a safe intermediate target for Josh Allen. Yeah, the weather's not ideal. I think he's still gonna be fine. I could see a 5 for 50 day from Shakir. Leggett has to deal with Adam Thielen back in the lineup, maybe pushing him down the total pull. So yeah, I actually lead Shakir, so I know he didn't help you a whole lot. But Mike can maybe help you, persuade you to go Leggett's side here with what he's pulling up. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging 10 points per game the last 3 PPR. Shakir, we have at a little bit more, about 12. But man, that snow game really scares me with it. It's not the snow that scares me. It's the 20+ mile per hour winds that scare me there. And I really think Josh Allen is just going to utilize his legs like he did when he took down the Chiefs. So give me Leggett here, and where I think there's a high volume ceiling here. He's gotten 16 targets the past 3 weeks. I could definitely see this being a possible 10 target game because the Buccaneers are most likely going to get up early.
All right, I get it.
So next question here. Start 2. Juwan Jennings, Tony Pollard, Tank Dell.
Pollard and Dell is where I lean.
Yeah, it's where I lean as well. Man, I do like Jennings with Purdy, but like I said, trying to avoid the snow game, the wind in that as well. That's it. Purdy with a bum shoulder and bad weather, or Anthony Richardson. That one I'll take Anthony Richardson.
Give me Richardson as well, yeah. Been playing a little better, good matchup against New England as well. So yeah, give me Richardson.
Standard here. Jonathan Taylor or Brian Robinson Jr.?
JT. Smash it.
Oh, wow.
He's gonna smash this week.
You're a Brian Robinson guy too. I really thought you were gonna go Brian Robinson.
Yeah, nah, JT's gonna smash this week, man. I don't have any of him, so
that one's definitely JT. Ooh, Garrett Wilson or Ladd McConkey?
We're gonna go Garrett Wilson still. Even with the Jets stinking, man. Even with the Jets stinking, he's still fine. Except for the last week, I think he struggled, but he's still seeing the volume. So give me Garrett Wilson. He's awesome.
Yeah, wide receiver 23 the past 3 weeks, and then Ladd is 29. Both are solid options here.
Ladd's nice
in your lineup. Yeah, find a way to get both in your lineup if you could. But yeah, it's Garrett Wilson. Pick one, standard scoring, Brian Robinson or JSN against the Jets.
Standard scoring, I'm going to go Brian Robinson. JSN has had a monster last month or so, and I get the allure to it. But with it standard, give me the safer play. Give me the running back who has a lot of touchdown upside at Brian Robinson here, even though JSN, like I said, awesome. He's good stuff. Hashtag good at football, Mike.
Man, I hope he continues to be good at football, and DK Metcalf can get involved as well because it's kind of been a passing of the torch there. But I lean Brian Robinson as well. It's hard to get a running back out of your lineup in standard scoring. Stafford or Nix?
I don't know.
I think they're both good options. I lean Bo Nix. I'll give you a little bit more of a rushing floor where Stafford's not running at all. Both are passing the ball phenomenally the past 3 games. Michael, start 2 half-point PPR. Mixon, Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, and Breece Hall. My God. All right, so Chase Brown's a lock.
Chase Brown's a lock for you.
Absolutely.
Against Pittsburgh?
Yeah, he's been getting so much volume through the air. Let me pull it up right here.
I went with Bucky and was it Brian Robinson was the option or no?
Chase Brown, RB3 the last 3 weeks, 23 targets, 19 receptions, 146 yards, and a touchdown through the air. Averaging 22.8 the last 3 games. So Chase Brown is a lock, even though it's a tough matchup. He's getting the volume without Zach Moss, and Khalil Herbert really hasn't been worked in at all. And then it's Mixon. It's Mixon and Chase Brown for me.
Oh, yeah. I went Mixon and who did I say? God, who did I cut? I forget.
Mixon and Bucky.
Yeah. I'm all in on the Bucky train if you guys can't tell.
I mean, they're all good options, but Chase Brown and Mixon have just been better than Bucky Irving and Brees Hall.
Chase Brown, man. He's the man. Shout out Illinois. 9-win season. Heading to the Citrus Bowl to get blown out by Alabama.
Get blown out. That's going to be fun to watch and write on.
I actually, man, I don't know. Maybe what did you make of Michigan beating Ohio State yesterday?
I'm impartial about it. I mean, it's cool. It knocks Ohio State off the rankings and definitely shakes the playoff race up here.
That's what I mean. I think they still slide into the playoff, but how crazy is it going to be that Ryan Day's in the playoff and he's on the hot seat, Mike? Isn't that nuts?
I saw his record is he against the Big Ten. He's like 71-1 against Michigan. He's 1-4.
Yeah, 4 straight losses to Michigan, and that can't happen as the Buckeyes coach, man. They do not like that.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, they're good against everybody else but Michigan.
The score only 10 points. I know Michigan's defense is good, but their quarterback play is so bad. So bad.
Their quarterback play was decent leading up until that game, too. It's just it just collapsed that game.
For Ohio State.
Like Will Howard. Yeah, Will Howard was all right. Wasn't terrible going into that game, but yeah, that game was terrible. Jane Daniels or Justin Herbert?
Jay Daniels. Slightly.
All right. Jane Daniels or Joe Burrow?
I'm going to
go
Joe
Burrow for me. Yeah.
I'm always riding with Burrow for me.
Did you know that him and Lamar Jackson lead the league in passing touchdowns right now?
Nope. With
how
many? 25?
Let me look it up here. But yeah, I didn't know that they led the league in passing touchdowns, 27 each. Lamar Jackson 27-3, Joe Burrow 27-4. One's an MVP candidate, one's not going to make the playoffs. Which one is which?
Lamar's probably not going to win the MVP this year, even though he's been better than his MVP season last year, which is
he has been only 3 interceptions, and all 3 of them are not his fault. They're all tipped.
He's been the goods, man. I hope get him a Super Bowl win this year. The Chiefs struggling. I know they're going to be the odds-on favorite. I know the Chiefs are probably going to win, but get the Chiefs, like you just said. Ravens,
this is the time they're coming. You get they're human guys. They've played the longest 2 seasons back to back, winning those Super Bowls. They're tired. You know they are humans. I mean, I know they're hungry, but they're also a little banged up. They're struggling. They gotta pounce while the iron is hot against these Chiefs, because once they get that offense rolling with that defense they got, they're gonna be unstoppable.
Has there ever been a more maligned player than Lamar Jackson? Like, he is such a good player, man, but in the postseason, he's just got that shtick right now where he can't get it done, and I really want him to flip the script on that. I really do. And hopefully it happens.
Yeah, he looks unstoppable this year. I mean, granted, the Steelers figured out a way how to stop him. But yeah, man, that's the only game. That is the only game where he's looked, human.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get a couple more questions in here. All right, so need one at flex PPR. Najee Harris, Juwan Jennings, Tank Dell.
Oh boy, Najee, I guess. Between him and Dell for me, I think.
It's Dell. I think it's Dell for me. The fact that PPR does boost Dell a little bit more. Good matchup. Nico Collins is going to eat. Hopefully Tank Dell can eat a little bit as well. All right. Next one we got here is from Trey. James Conner or Bucky Irving?
I'm going to keep leaning with Bucky here, man. I'm all about it against Carolina this week. I could see a top 5 to 8 finish from him, so I'm going to keep going Bucky here. Where are you at with this one?
I'd go Bucky as well. You got your questions?
Sure. We'll just go rapid fire here. We got 2 minutes before going. We got Jay Daniels or Burrow, Mike?
No, we already did that one. That one's Burrow.
Okay, we got Josh Allen or Geno? We haven't got that question yet.
No, that one's a good one. Geno's going to pass more. If it was our league, and I keep saying that, but, if you have a league that values passing yards a lot more, then I think you go Geno in that one. But Josh Allen in normal scoring formats were rushing is just more points.
Yeah, I'm still going to go Joshy here myself, even with the weather concerns. We got DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson, or Taysom Hill in the flex.
DK Metcalf, Taysom Hill, and who?
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson. Man, I want DK to succeed this week. But with those other two options, I'll go Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, that's where I lean as well. You go Jaden Daniels or Baker Mayfield?
I would go Baker in that one.
Yeah, I'm going Baker myself, man. He's going to absolutely smash top 5 quarterback finish for sure. Not for sure, but likely this week coming for Baker. Ramondre Stevenson or Bucky? Bucky for me.
That's Bucky.
Yep. Kelvin Ridley, Darnell Mooney. This is a little bit tougher because Kelvin Ridley's been the man the last.
Yeah, week. I mean, yes and no. It is a little bit tougher, but Ridley's just going to get more of the cake here as far as passing volume goes. Since Hopkins left, he's just getting so much volume. So it's Ridley.
It's Ridley slightly. I agree with you. I suppose
they're playing the Commanders.
Love it though. It's a tough question. I know, man, but the Commanders' defense is a little better than
their secondary is not better. They just cut Emmanuel Forbes.
Well, that's because he's thinking they got better by addition by some.
I think Marshawn Lattimore is playing this week, so that might give a little bit of a boost as well. But either way, he's coming off an injury.
He was questionable, but yeah. But get me out of here, man. The DFS guys look ready in the background, so.
All right. Well, as always, this is fun, guys. We appreciate you joining us. We love answering all your start sit questions. Now we're gonna go answer our own. Dylan, thank you. Let everybody know what you're doing and where they can find your stuff at.
Yeah, man. Mike, it was fun as always, even with just the two of us. Yeah, just find me on X at dclemons2222. Find me in the NBA DFS Discord as we're always talking NBA DFS in there, and I do the NBA DFS cheat sheet Monday through Saturday. So make sure to check that out. Check me out of the Friday show as well on the YouTube channel. So, all right, guys.
Take care. Good luck in your matchups. All right, guys. Now, what you've been waiting for to make some money with the master of the MME and captain of cash. Welcome in Chris Robbin and Keith Flemming. How's it going?
Captain Cash, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. And, as Keith's background saying, early Merry Christmas.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I used to, I probably set it up today, actually. I used to wear this side, it's all backwards. Like right here, I have a mini tree. It's like, 4 or 5 feet.
Charlie Brown tree?
No, it's actually full. I mean, it's tiny, but it's full at least. And I can stack it up like over in this area. And I have to stack it up. What you don't see is there's like 17 big ass Rubbermaid containers that don't make the cut, but it's all about presentation, right? The illusion and or just showing folks what they want to see. So Keith, the tree looks fantastic, by the way.
Thank my wife, not me. So
all the credit goes to her. Well, I'll get out of your guys' hair. Good luck. Have fun.
Thank you, Mike. I got a quick Keith. So when you put the Christmas tree up, we know you got Nico and a few. I don't know how many total dogs you have, but are there any cats over there?
We have one. Yeah, we have one cat. He's an outdoor cat, but his name's Salem. He showed up, I guess, a few months ago, and in typical fashion, we're the suckers that any stray animals that need a place to stay, just come on by. We got you covered.
I'm the same way. There's a wild cat family that lives across the street from me, and it's a smaller subdivision, so it's not like there's a ton of traffic. But the guy across the street and I are always feeding it, so we're not suckers. It's just a nice thing to do. So Keith, before we get into Week 13 and everything that has to offer, I just want to say this: I cannot believe you're a big college football guy too, right? And I've always rooted for the University of Michigan. So shout out to them for beating Ohio in Columbus yesterday. That was completely nuts, completely crazy. And then everything that happened after, planting the flag, only the Michigan kids got maced. I mean, it's just a nuts thing. We're called classless. Sharon Moore's. be for another broadcast, but what better time to bring something fun up that we could actually discuss. And if anyone's in the comments, I know it's been 4 years since Ohio has beaten the University of Michigan. In 2020, it was canceled because of COVID. So by the time this game comes around next year in Ann Arbor, it's going to be over like 2,000 days since Ohio has beat Michigan. What was the big thrill for the college football weekend for you? Didn't Georgia win in like dramatic fashion in like overtime, something like that?
Yeah, down 17-0 at the half, down 14 points with 6 minutes left, 8 overtimes, and they ended up squeaking it out versus a Tech team that, if we're being honest, probably deserved the victory, but almost was it only in horseshoes and hand grenades. So very excited that the Dogs are still in great shape, whether they win or lose the SEC title. But now they're in a position, they win the SEC title, they'll probably get a bye. Don't know if this is a national title team. We'll see, but it's just good to be there.
Anything can happen once the playoffs start. And this is the first year of this new playoff format. It's like, like pro football or like the NCAA March Madness. It's brackets, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. Going to be a lot of people complaining. And when my team didn't make the cut, oh, well, now we're removed from whatever the committee making the selections. So when we double back to week 13, which is already kicked off in a way, Thursday, that was part of the week 13, a bunch of Thanksgiving Day games. And then Friday, the Kansas City Chiefs played the Raiders in what was a very shady ending. I mean, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist when it comes to certain things. Like, yes, I believe the world is round. Yes, I believe we landed on the moon. It wasn't recorded in Hollywood. JFK was shot by a bad guy. I don't know, but it's sure starting to look like Kansas City's getting more than just some helps. I mean, the guy hiked the ball. The Raiders guy hiked the ball, and then they called it illegal formation. It was a false start. Whatever the way they did, it's like the refs tweaked it for the best advantage for Kansas City. Any thoughts on that?
It's good to be Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It felt like this way for the Patriots for a long time. That I go back and forth if it's truly these teams get the benefit of the doubt, or if it's just they're so good they seem to take advantage of all those breaks where other teams don't. I understand people's frustration, but at the same time, it's like Aiden O'Connell, don't fumble the ball, and it's not what it was. I do have serious concerns, and it seems like I doubt this team every year, at least for the last 3 years, about the Chiefs as a Super Bowl contender. But I'm sure that we'll see come February. Yeah, they'll be in the game and probably be in it going into the second half.
No doubt. So let's talk about week 13. We're 6 minutes in, and we've just kind of, it was me. I'm sorry. I steered the ship into some bullshit, but it was fun, right?
Dogs are not bullshit.
And we get comfortable. What's your first initial reaction, as I always ask you, for week 13? Any like big insights and where you're headed here?
I condensed my plays this week, and most of that is due to weather. We're at the time of year where I don't really like, especially the passing part of it, if teams are playing in really cold weather, really nasty conditions compared to if they're in a dome or, in the South where it's not exactly like hot right now, but it's definitely not, below freezing. It always concerns me when it's really cold. I understand we saw Green Bay, Miami, both passing attacks have a good game in like miserable conditions, but there is some wind. And I just watched that like Ohio State, Michigan game yesterday where there was like 10-mile-an-hour wind along with, the cold weather. And a lot of the guys look miserable. If we're being honest, I know I would be miserable out there in those conditions. So I am
that kind of weather, not to be like some weirdo, but that kind of weather is just in my blood. Born and raised here in Detroit, and then now living north in Michigan. It's in my blood. It doesn't matter, but it would be sickening.
Good for you, because for a Southern boy like me, I also don't have the most meat on my bones. Below 50, I don't like it. I would rather it be a million degrees with 100% humidity than freezing.
Absolutely. When I look at this slate, I've highlighted a few teams, and instead of just being a free-for-all for me today in terms of talking and having, I don't need to have a point or an opinion on every player. I've known that for a long time, but I do it anyways for the sake of a broadcast. But when I look at week 13, I've made dozens of lineups, but my player pool is drastically cut down between five teams, and I'm full blown head over heels in love with Tampa Bay at Carolina this week. I'm seeing like a 38-28 kind of final score where everybody gets paid, everybody's getting yardage in that. I like the Indianapolis Colts, Seattle Seahawks at the Jets, and Pittsburgh in a way, but we'll get to it. There's some little drips and drabs of other teams, right? New Orleans is hosting the Rams. Tennessee is at Washington. I love the idea of stacking the Commanders, but they will be probably a very popular play after what Jaden Daniels finally got, turned the page and got back to a fantastic fantasy output last week. Houston, they'll probably going to be, number one with a bullet through the roof in terms of stacking nature. CJ Stroud, Jacksonville's dead last basically in everything. Carolina's not too far behind, but Houston is okay. If that's what you want to do, that's cash, but it's going to be kind of, hands off in GPPs. And then there's something about Arizona at Minnesota, right? It's not enough to be bumped up ahead of Tampa Bay and Carolina, or that I'll stack that game over the Seahawks or over the Colts, but there's something that is going to be brewing there, and that over-under sits at 45 points. So Keith, pick a game like we do. We'll spin. Too bad we don't have a wheel. Spin the wheel and wherever it lands. That'd be fun, but probably kind of corny. We're not teenagers, playing truth or dare, but everybody gets the idea. Where are you going first?
I'm with you. Like this Tampa Carolina game, a lot of my plays for cash are coming from it. I mean, if you want to play Baker, I'm okay with that. I prefer on the Tampa side. Like I just love take your pick on the back. Like Bucky Irving is the guy that's in a majority of my lineups, but Rachaad White deserves mention, especially if they're going to be up big. You'd assume Carolina's running a lot. Tampa's running a lot. On the other side, though, I think there's a lot of really good plays. If you're somebody that thinks Carolina can stay in this game, Chuba Hubbard, 6,700, very good play. Tampa is awful versus the run. And then the wide receivers, I really like David Moore this week. And I mean, I know he's more in your purview in that, bottom of the barrel deal at 3,500, but this is a guy that last week with Coker out and Jatavian Sanders, getting unfortunately knocked out of the game early, set season highs in targets, receptions, yards, scored over 20 points. And then you get another matchup where Sanders and Coker are both out. He had seen at least 4 targets and 4 straight before that season high of 10 last week. And this is a Tampa team that you can throw on. So, again, if you want to go Thielen, Leggett, totally cool with that. I have no problem. I just love the money you save on Moore, and he's somebody that I have in a good bit of cash game lineups. It's that, really cheap fill-in.
Yeah, give me a minute because this game, like I've built full game stacks of this one, and it's it's strange, but it's also fun because the idea of Bryce Young as the quarterback is very, very entertaining to me, and he's only 6'6" on FanDuel, and when you look at what other quarterbacks are around there in the 6'6" price range, probably like a Drake May or Mac Jones is in that same area, and he might not. It looks like T-Law is going to be okay in play. Actually, it's probably still 50-50, but to me, getting Bryce Young in our lineups after what he's been able to do the last few weeks, and if anybody's got a pen, write this down. I took a screenshot of it, and I am not shying away from the idea. I mean, I've done it, putting my money where my mouth is. Let's see what I can get back here. But Bucky Irvin and Rachaad White in the same lineup. How many times over the years has a DFS article or a show say, that's probably not good if you want to win any sort of cash, because you're going to be vulturing away. And we've already, I've mentioned it a handful of times. You get a situation like the Lions with Gibbs and Demont. They've scored a touchdown in the same game like 10 times in the length of each one of their careers. And they're setting, records for the Lions, and they're really opening people's eyes, like the old heads who say, the get off my lawn types that say, I don't want, Demont was signed to this big contract extension. Gibbs is now toast. No, that's not true. So why can't we take it a step further for the Tampa Bay Bucks and use Bucky Irvin and Rachaad White in the same lineup? Bucky 7-2 on FanDuel, Rachaad White 6-5 on FanDuel. And the beautiful thing there is Bucky seeing more of the carries, right? While Rachaad White has tended to be, more the receiving back. And like I said, Carolina 32nd overall against running backs. When you look at them against wide receivers, they're 7th. So I could see a case where both of these dudes score a touchdown, and it might be strange. I've stacked up, as I said, Carolina, Tampa Bay with Bryce Young as the quarterback. And it's just a simple take Bryce Young out, put Baker Mayfield in. I think this final score is way over. I have Tampa Bay to win this one 38-27, 38-28, where we get to a point where it's, Tampa Bay's absolutely slaying them. It's 17-0, 21-0. And then, that kind of play laxed on defense, as they already are in an odd way. But Carolina is able to hang some points, through Chuba Hubbard and David Moore, as you said. He's stacked up in my favorite lineup as well. So to me, I'm going all hands on deck. I'm putting basically every penny I have, from my Thanksgiving winnings. I'm putting all my money on this game for the most part. So when we look to the, the second leg here in our minds, the second one here, there's something about Seattle. They're playing against the New York Jets. They've completely, crapped in the bed, right? And Aaron Rodgers, that they're already talking about, well, I still want to play, but I don't want to be, with the New York Jets. It's wild to me that a human being can just pick and choose what they want to do, where they want to go. But I guess that's the entitlement of Aaron Rodgers. And to be fair, people talk about him. I'll just leave it be, because we're going to go down a tangent, or I'll go down a tangent, and it's already 12:15. I'll touch on that after you briefly, but what's your next kind of plan of attack here?
I really like the Saints-Rams game a lot. Like, two defenses that can both give up points on a turf. On the, the Rams side, getting Stafford at 5,800 feels like a blessing, because if you want to double stack him with Puka and Kupp, which, you're talking about a condensed offense, that's where everything's going. You can do that. And I know it's a great matchup for Kyron Williams, but it's just been, at least from a volume standpoint, totally different Kyron Williams since the return of having both Puka and Kupp on the field with Stafford. Puka, it's really phenomenal. He's actually exceeding so many of the metrics that he did his rookie year as a stud wide receiver. And he did a lot of that without Cooper Kupp. This year, he's almost played every game with Kupp. And still, like, his first read target is, still over like 38%. When you look at first read target per route run, only him and Tyreek Hill over the last decade have seen that. So again, you're going to get volume. Saints give up a bunch of big plays. And then on the other side, I love the value of both Taysom Hill and MBS. Hill has just, I still think that they haven't corrected enough his, price. You're getting a guy that's getting, rush attempts, a guy that's getting a ton of targets in the passing game, which is the big difference between him and the first time that he did it. 21 targets over his last 4, including a season high. And if I can, think of the highest I can remember at any point, 10 for him. And then you look at the Rams, and I'm not trying to compare Taysom Hill to Saquon Barkley, but at the same time, I am going to compare Taysom Hill to Saquon Barkley, because they're these big physical backs that have the ability to bust these big runs. And we saw, Saquon have numerous of them. So you get Hill, who's already being so involved with, red zone touches. He's getting rush attempts. He's getting, a good bit of targets. And he's only $5K. I love the value of him this week. And then MBS, I would like for him to have more targets. I think he's only had 7 in the 2 games, but he's turned 3 of them into 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's really phenomenal. And now he's facing a Rams team that allow the 24th most plays of 20 yards or more in the passing game to wide receivers. And then the big deal is looking back in games that Carr has started for the Saints. I believe now it is 9 of them, 45 yards or more reception to a wide receiver in 7 of 9. Early in the season, obviously, that was Chris Olave. That was Rashid Shaheed. They're both gone now. And we've seen MVS as their deep down the field target. He's had 2 bomb receptions, luckily for us, for touchdowns the last 2 weeks. And I feel like at 4,500, he is worth the value in a game that I expect a lot of points in. I just think that that's going to be, if we remember the Tampa New Orleans game earlier, then that was with Spencer Rattler, and there was like almost 100 points scored in that game. I could see this game easily having 60 points scored in it. That means all those guys are really good values. If you want to go Alvin Kamara, I don't hate that. If you want to go Derek Carr, I don't hate that. I just think there's so many good plays because both offenses are very condensed at this point of the guys that, receive the rock.
Yeah, I looked at this game and the over-under's at like 49 total points, and the Rams are actually projected, team implied point totals. They're actually projected to score more, just shy of 3 more points. And as you said, Stafford, give how much he is. He's only 7-4 on FanDuel and what he can do. The way to attack this game for me, it couldn't be any more clear. It's Puka and Kyren Williams. They're, they smash, they double down, the points or their price tag. So they would never be anywhere near my kind of content unless it was a single game slate video. But the idea of using Stafford, Kyren, and Puka, and then running it back with an Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, there's your 5 guys. You could actually, if we're going to stack it up, use 4 Rams, right? And then run it back with Alvin Kamara. Normally it's not supposed to be anything. We can do as we please, but that game stack and the run back, right. Folks have been rigid on it. There's 4 from this side and only 1 on the other side. To be fair, I think New Orleans actually wins this game around 24 to 21. So you're looking at 6 total touchdowns plus a field goal if we're going to be, perfect in a way. But Taysom Hill is on an absolute heater, and his price tag, he's $7,000 on FanDuel. I could see him, succeeding that point total given his value and price tag. When I look around, I have to stop at the Seattle Seahawks. They're playing in New York. They're playing the Jets. And right now, what's nuts to me, they have New York Jets are the favorites. Seattle's getting 1.5 and their projected point totals. They have Seattle around 20, and they have the Jets around 21.5 points. It's crazy to me that in a game where I think Seattle doubles them up, you're looking at 27 to 13, 28 to 14, something like that. In the sports betting world or anytime touchdown bet world, I'm hammering Seattle across the board. And we have to start with Geno Smith and Ken Walker III and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Chris, what are you doing? This not your normal, MO. Got to switch it up every once in a while because the same old could get stale, right? Bottom of the barrel. Maybe we hit a plateau, but it's okay. It's been around for quite some time, and we'll be all right. But I love the idea of just telling it like it is, not like holding myself back just because a running back in a great spot is a couple thousand more than what I normally do. Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker, and Jackson Smith-Njigba are musts for me. Must for me's, just only one of me. For me today, Geno, Kenneth Walker, JSN, and even DK Metcalf. And you might point to the DVP. The Jets are second overall against opposing wide receivers. Yeah. Last I looked, Sauce Gardner, East Side Detroit kid, he's outstanding. He hasn't had an interception unless he got one last week. In what was the stat? I saw it going around Twitter. When someone says something smart, or not smart, but something that's easily found, but it's nuts. it kind of, grows legs and gets nuts, right? But to me, when you look at Geno Smith, there was a question on the previous broadcast. I believe it was, I forget what it was. It was Geno Smith and another high-end quarterback. And Mike said, I'm running with Geno Smith. I'm going to double down on that. Last time, Mike was talking about Geno. The other guys on the show were hold his feet to the fire. They bent him over. And I go, I'm going to double down. Geno's going to have a pair of touchdowns. And he actually finished with 3, 2 in the air, 1 on the ground. But last week, he completed 22 of 31 passes for 250 yards. He threw only 1 touchdown. So when you look back through Geno Smith's box scores as of late, he's only hovering around one touchdown or so. I firmly believe he can get to 2 this week, maybe 3. And that third one probably would be on the ground if we're going to make sense here. But the Seattle, they go against the Jets. They've only allowed around 175 passing yards a game, second best in the league. But the Jets are crumbling right before our very eyes. And I have no feeling one way or another. I'm not going to root for a team or someone's demise unless you're from Ohio, but we can move on from there. And get this one. I believe Noah Fant is going to be active for the first time in years and months, however it is. He hurt his groin and we haven't heard nothing from him, but he's only 4.9 on FanDuel. And I'd imagine, while Jackson Smith-Njigba and DK Metcalf are out there getting their targets and touches, running routes, Noah Fant could be used in the red zone here just to kind of, get him back into the swing of things. A groin pull or anything like that stinks, especially as a man. But hey, I digress. Any thoughts here, or are we going to move on to another favorite game of yours, Keith?
I agree a lot of what you're saying. I don't have a lot of these guys in cash just because I do worry about the Jets. They can get after the quarterback, and Geno has been different in games where he has a clean pocket compared to when there's a lot of pressure. That would be my one concern. I like Davante Adams a lot today. I've tried to get him in some cash lineups because he's 7K. His target rate versus man, which Seattle runs at a crazy high rate, like almost 40% of the time, it's almost 40%. So I think he's going to get a lot of volume. But again, my concerns are what you were just talking about. Like, are the Jets just the team that's imploding before our eyes? And they're thinking about the offseason already and, being on a beach somewhere, drinking a daiquiri, because there's a good chance. And then on top of that, I hate that Breece Hall, I know he's going to play, but, even 2 days ago, we're hearing he may not play. That's usually not a good sign. So that's a game. Again, I think that's probably what happens is what you're saying is the Seahawks go off. That would be good for all the players. You said, and Davante Adams, who I was just talking about, because the Jets are down throwing a lot. But I have concerns if the Jets get a pass rush. There's like at least a 20% chance this, turns into a rock fight, which a lot of Jets games look like.
Yeah, in terms of personal projections for Davante Adams, I'll be honest, I glossed right over him. I didn't give it a second look, but he's caught looks like 6 passes. He caught 6 passes for 72 yards in week 11. Then they had the bye week, but in week 11 it marked the 3rd straight game he's caught at least 6 passes, and he's been targeted 46 times over the last 5 games or so. So that connection, it's like, someone says, your mom or your grandma will say, well, anytime you get good friends with someone, you're lifelong friends, and when you get together, it's like no time has passed. Hey, maybe they're Adams and Rodgers are starting to, say, throw caution to the wind and let's get it rolling here. But he's only got 1 touchdown over that span and now 55.6 yards per game. Looking at 9 to 10 targets for Davante today. I have 6 to 7 receptions in around 68 to 70 yards. I think that yardage at 70 yards could be a floor projection for him here, given the lack of what Seattle can do, seeing how they're 18th overall. So they're basically, middle of the pack when we look at the New York Jets. My next game I want to discuss, and it's probably not going to be any shocking. Yeah, Dylan said it as well. The fact that the Jets are favored is shocking. First thing I said is
that 1 p.m. travel, though. Don't forget about a West Coast team traveling to the East Coast at 1 p.m. It just seems to always play a role in these games, and typically these West Coast teams just don't look as good because it's 10 in the morning, for them. The body clock's for real.
we all know when you look at a map, yes, Seattle is West Coast, but they're the Pacific Northwest. It's all cold and dreary. I don't know if they ever have summer or any prolonged periods of time of sun. It's like that city in Alaska that, at a certain time, it just stays.
It's right now. It's dark. It won't have another daylight, I believe, until January. Oh,
yeah, you got a full month. I think that would be fun, but I've seen enough horror movies, especially that one with Josh Hartnett, 30 Days of Night, where vampires come to town and it's like toast. But hey, or even that one show with it was on it was True Detective, the latest season of True Detective.
Pretty good. Yeah,
with Jodie Foster. Yeah, the big group of people are just frozen, and it's nuts. I think that would be fun. You could see the Northern Lights and everything that has to offer. Fantastically bad transition. There's a non sequitur kind of. But when we look at the time, it is 12:28. Eastern time. Joe is a stickler for time zones, if we're going to be clear, because we all live in different spots, but it's 12:28 p.m. Eastern. We have about 32 minutes before the 1 p.m. lock. Make sure you dig in, hang here as we go through it. If you're in the seasonal fantasy playoffs or the fishbowl, I think this is the second round here. Make sure you get everything squared away.
In the fishbowl, buddy.
Hey.
God, I'm very thankful for Brock Bowers and Trey McBride this year.
I missed out by I think it was 50 something points. I made it to the playoff. I made it to the third round of the playoffs last year. And it wasn't even based on my record. I just scored the most points. And it was just 1 week late because I've gone on I think I went 1 for 3 the last 2 weeks. You get the median of points scored to win and overall wins. And I was 50 something points shy. But then last week I went nuts. I scored more points. It was 2-0. And then just 1 week later, I would have been in without a question. So as I was saying, it's 12:29 now. We have 31 minutes before lock. Make sure you're going and getting everything locked in. And if you're already out of the seasonal playoffs and the fishbowl came and went for you, get to the website, fantasy6pack.net. They have rankings, projections, IDP stuff. And this team led by Joe remains high end in terms of their rankings. So to me, I would look no further than what we're doing here in the trade value charts. Never been a fan of, looking at the trade values. It's just kind of by feel, or you can look, if I'm going to trade, let's say Gus Edwards for Jaylen Warren, the first two guys I looked at, what's their schedule looking like? What's their age? Something like that. So trade charts, I believe they're here as well. And it's just so much good stuff here at this website. Get there and look around, tag me or Keith, and we'll go from there. Another game I want to mention, which is it's going to be no secret. It's the Indianapolis Colts head to New England to battle the Patriots. And for weeks on end, I've been all in on Drake May. It's been fantastic. To a certain extent, you have I'm available there to talk, and sure, I can whip up one heck of a paragraph or a blurb about Drake May, and yet he continues to make mistakes to put his team, behind or at odds, and it stinks. But Drake May is not the reason why I like this game. It's Anthony Richardson. This kid has finally been given. Has he been given the keys? I think that when they drafted him, they're like, "You're our guy," and then it was like weird when he quit. But now he's rolling, and he is the starting quarterback for today and the foreseeable future. But why do I like this game with him so much? The New England Patriots are kind of going through the motions right now. They're one of the bottom five teams in the NFL, but there is a light at the end of the New England Patriots, tunnel here. But I want to talk about the Colts, looking at Anthony Richardson. I think today it would be a fantastic game to really sneak over on folks and use Jonathan Taylor. He hasn't been, I can't remember the last time I heard people talk about Jonathan Taylor as a stone cold stud running back, yet there he is, slowly slogging away at the running back position. But to me, I have Jonathan Taylor, 22 to 23 carries, 100 yards and a touchdown. I believe that's his floor, 100 yards and 1 touchdown. That's his floor here today, with about 2 to 3 receptions for another 15 to 20 yards. There's an opportunity here for him to really go nuts. Is it weird to say an opportunity for JT to break out? I mean, this guy's already, been a stone cold stud, but I guess game to game season, going to break out in this game, 150 yards, a pair of touchdowns, and nobody sees it coming because his price tag's been a little bit too high and he hasn't done much. But what are we going to do if you're going to stack Anthony Anthony Richardson, I guess you could stack him naked, nude if you wanted to. Either way, I would advise against it, or I could talk you into it given the matchup here. But what I was getting at is Josh Downs is going to be inactive. You heard his shoulder against the Lions, if I'm not mistaken. Alec Pierce is questionable as well, but he looks like he's trending towards playing. So to me, Michael Pittman will be the wide receiver one for today, if not for an extended stretch, given, Josh Downs is out and Alec Pierce, God forbid Pierce falls wrong and, re-aggravates whatever he has going on. But Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and you could toss in the rookie Adonai Mitchell as well, but I would prefer Pierce, Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, and Anthony Richardson. Aside from, let's say, Tampa Bay, and tied with Buffalo, who's Sunday Night Football, which I'll get to. That game looks like it's going to be, 7 feet of snow in this one. But I have the Indianapolis Colts to hang 30 or 31 points in this one. So the second highest point total of the slate. So how are we going to get to that point total? As I said, Richardson, JT gave you the projection there. Going to average. I think we're going to see a game where Jonathan Taylor averages 5+ yards a carry. Like I said, 150 yards, pair of touchdowns. Anything in this one that stands out to you, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. For me, it's Jonathan Taylor. I think he may be the best value for DraftKings cash this week, under 7K. And a lot of that is warranted. I mean, he hasn't had a 20-point performance since week 4. That's a bummer if you have Taylor in obviously season-long formats. But this New England, defense struggles with the run. Weather's going to be bad, so I think that means you see Indy lean on the run a little bit more. New England, they're top 10 in the league in rushing yards per game allowed to opposing running backs, over 100 yards. Yards per carry, they're top 10. They've given up the 12th most touchdowns per game. And then the big one for me is just, again, overall, they're one of 8 teams that have allowed 1,500-yard rushing this season at over 4.5 yards per carry and 10+ touchdowns. That's across the board, a defense that they struggle with the run. I also really like Michael Pittman this week. Hold on, I want to make sure I have this right. So his last 3 games that he's played without Downs, very good. 22 targets, 14 receptions, 2 touchdowns. He is the only other guy that they really have that you can hit for the quick short passes, which that's what Richardson has to improve on. That's been his issue. He's great at going down the field, but you can't consistently move the ball by trying to throw the ball 20, 30 yards down the field at a time. You got to have somebody to hit for the short first downs on third downs, etc. Pittman's going to be that guy. I really like that. I will say on the New England side, for MME, I think one of the best values you can get is going with Drake May, Demario Douglas, and Hunter Henry. It costs you basically nothing. Indy runs that cover 3, which both Douglas and Henry are actually better versus the zone than they are versus man. I think that they're going to have a lot of receptions. Now, they need touchdowns, and we'll see if that happens, but I'm pretty confident both those guys will at least see 6-7 targets. They have a chance to catch at least 4 or 5 passes. And then if May ends up having one of those games, to your point, where he's doing more with less than any QB in the NFL, he's just such a safe play too. At least 15 points, I believe, in every start, but one that he started and finished this season.
Yeah, and to further your point, when we look at Michael Pittman, the Patriots defense, they're giving up around 161.5 yards a week just to wide receivers. So the simple way of looking at that is, who do they have healthy, right? As I said, Alec Pierce, Adonai Mitchell, and that's about it. What are we going to get from? We're going to get anything from Kylan Granson or Mo Alley Cox. So in my whacked out brain, I'm going to take that 106, let's call it 100, round up, 162 total receiving yards and split it between Pittman, Alec, and Adonai. And then after I get to that, I'm just going to cut it right in half and give the higher end to Michael Pittman here. So 23rd overall is the DVP for Indianapolis, but taking that 160 yards, and why can't Michael Pittman have 150 of it as they, absolutely wail on New England, starting with the ground, and we'll move on from there. Actually, there's a point to be made. Let me look up some projections that I have. normally I just write player projections down in my notes for bottom of the barrel. So I have to do this on a fly, but I have Anthony Richardson. He's going to complete 16 to 17 passes, but he's going to hang 225 to 230 yards. I could see a case where he throws a pair of touchdowns, 2 to Pittman in a perfect world, and then or JT as well. Although I think JT finds his scores on the ground. As I said, I have Indianapolis to score 31 points. You cut it down, you're looking at 4 touchdowns. You give JT 2 and you give Michael Pittman 2. You put that also in an anytime touchdown bet, and we're rolling, which I'll do once we're not live on air anymore. Keith, when we move down the list here, there's a few different ways that I'd like to go. We're at 12:38, so we're about 22 minutes away from lock time here. Philly at Baltimore is going to be an outstanding game. Frisco at Buffalo, that's Sunday night tonight. And also Cleveland, Denver is Monday night football. But I want to rewind and go right to, stay where we are in the 1 p.m. Slide of things, which I've seen a lot of folks talk about. There needs to be more games at the 4 o'clock, kind of time slot, because you get it's all front end loaded. Yep. You have, what is it? You got 11 games on the main slate, which includes Sunday Night Football. I don't know why FanDuel started to do that, but hey, here we are. And my reply to that message was, well, I love it. The 4 p.m. games, you can lock it in where there's 3 games on the entire slate, and you can just hammer home lineups. And sometimes, I don't think they did it today, the 4 p.m. only is the 3 games, but sometimes the 4:25, there's only 2 of them, and that is a separate slate. So you're just cutting your odds down. I've always loved 2-game slates. Some folks do not. They call me a dummy, which is fine. I've been called worse. But when we look at what game I want to stick to next, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers play in Cincinnati. The AFC North, AFC North, if I'm not mistaken. This division is tough. Aside from the NFC North, this is probably my second favorite division, and it's actually relatively close because the teams in this division absolutely hate each other. Right now, Pittsburgh is getting 3 points. They're in Cincinnati, so Pittsburgh is the road. They're the underdog here. Cincinnati is the favorite at home against Pittsburgh. That's all well and good, but to me, I think there's a case to be made for a full game stack in this one. While I don't have I have the final score 24-21 in favor of Pittsburgh. I could see a case where it's 28-27, something like that. So you're looking at 6 to 7 total touchdowns, and we're going to dole them out, as I always say. But when I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, that a very tough Mike Tomlin led team, but some little bit different, this year in the last 4 or 5 games here. Russell Wilson looks absolutely locked in, something that I never thought we would say again after leaving Seattle, going to Denver. He took a huge dump over there. And then Mike Tomlin looked like an absolute genius, letting Justin Fields start the first few games. And then when Russell's ready, we're going to plop him in. That's all the announcers talk about. After Russell Wilson runs 15 yards for a first down or scores a touchdown, they say that was such a genius move. And why not? When you look at Russell Wilson this week, Cincinnati's 29th overall against defending opposing quarterbacks. Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren. Of the two, I would side with Jaylen Warren, just given the fact that he is $1,100 cheaper on FanDuel, and their projections look eerily similar, not to mention looking at probably 65 to 70 yards, total yards here. And I think he finds the end zone as well. But once again, I'm absolutely locking in George Pickens to any and all lineups I can get my hand on. Like I said, if stacking Tampa Bay, Carolina, using Indianapolis and Seattle in a stack together, that last flex spot, if it doesn't work for price tag or something like that, I've been putting George Pickens in almost every lineup that I can get to. And let me give you a projection for him real quick. He's outside the scope of bottom of the barrel, looking at 8 to 9 targets, 5 to 6 receptions, around 85 to 90 yards. And I think he finds the end zone well. He's averaging 14.9 yards a reception. So the Bengals defensive unit, that they're allowing the 12th most fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers. He is, I believe, I rarely do I talk like this, but George Pickens to me is an absolute sure thing this week to go along with Calvin Austin III. There is a lot of, there's going to be, at the end of this thing, there's going to be a lot of players in this game. And we just told you who they are: Russ, Jalen Warren, Pickens, and Calvin Austin III. There's my 4 players that I'm stacking from this game. There's going to be a lot of 2-3 times value from these guys. And I could see a case where Jalen Warren gets to 4 or 5 times his value. And that's what we call, a major moneymaker in DFS lineups. On the flip side, it's the same old thing. I feel bad for Joe Burrow. He's absolutely having one of his best seasons as a professional quarterback, yet Cincinnati is wasting it. That we've seen the comparison that Joe Burrow is the 2024 version of Matthew Stafford when he was on the Lions, just getting 3-4 touchdown passes, 300 yards, and they always are losing. One thing you can't deny, Chase Brown is also, he's locked in overall as one of my favorite running backs this week. I have so many lineups that are Chase Brown and Chuba Hubbard from Carolina. And that's where I start without even thinking, boom, boom, plug those 2 in. And then I build my lineups. That's how automatic I find Chase Brown to be this week. And moving down the list, Jamar Chase, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 5th overall against opposing wide receivers. And they have a pretty opportunistic and active secondary, the Steelers do, but Jamar Chase could go off right at any given time. However, 9-3 on FanDuel, a little bit too rich for my blood given how I think this game is going to go. But Keith, anything in this game of interest to you?
I mean, I understand all you're saying. I just, again, I'm looking at these indoor warm weather games, especially like Atlanta versus the Chargers. I love the Chargers on the side. And, that pains me as a Falcons side, but Herbert is still extremely undervalued. I don't understand, from a cash perspective, how you cannot start him in a majority of lineups. I mean, he is still 5,600 coming off now 6 straight games of 17 points or more. He's running a good bit. And this Falcons team just cannot get pressure. We saw it with Bo Nix a few weeks ago where he just lit us up. And I think you're going to see a very similar thing from Herbert today, because the one thing the Falcons D has going for it, they are very good against the run. And the main Chargers running back today is going to be Gus Edwards, who's averaging all of 3.3 yards per carry. So I think the Chargers are going to have to throw more. That's going to mean Herbert's going to run more. This is a guy that has 170 yards and a touchdown on the ground his last 5 games. So when you have somebody that can throw it like that, and then take your pick of how you want to stack them. You can convince me into Disley. He's only 4K, became a real target guy at the tight end position, consistently. And then from the wide receiver position, both Ladd and Quentin Johnson are great values. Ladd, go Dogs. I'm big on him. He's 6,100. He has been unbelievable here lately. 440 receiving yards his last 5 games. And I know that it's disgusting with QJ last week. We all watched him not be able to catch the ball. Totally get it. But he's 5K. And there is a lot of metrics that show he is the much better wide receiver on the season versus this kind of Falcons D. They run zone at one of the highest rates in the NFL, and that's going to give QJ a ton of opportunities. On the other side, I'm a little leery of playing Falcons. There is definitely a run back there. I just don't know who it is, because this Chargers defense, with the exception of last week versus Baltimore, has been really good all year. And I think Lamar is an albatross, right? He is somebody that he's Lamar. You can't really hold that against the defense or getting cooked by him when he was doing the kind of things that he was last week. So whether it be London, Mooney, Pitts, you say it's Bijan, his reception totals up. I do think one of those Falcons is going to go off, but I'm not really playing them in cash because I don't know who that's going to be. I think the Chargers, they're so good versus the run. They're going to try to take away London. So that means Mooney, but it seems like every time I go all in on Darnell Mooney, he does nothing. And it's when I don't play him, that's the games that he goes bananas.
Yeah, when I look at this game, it is absolutely fantastic as well. And I don't know, probably said it, throughout the years and talked about it, in certain spots, but I always dislike falling in love with a DFS line, or people, what's your favorite line this week? I'm indifferent to them all. I enter them as I see fit, and then that's it. I rarely do I go, oh, I'm absolutely in love with this line. I'm playing it across the board, because I've been burned too many times. But I will say this, I have a favorite line this week, and it's headed with Justin Herbert as the quarterback. And why? Well, over the last, I believe it's, over the last 6 contests, he's averaging 8.5 yards an attempt. His touchdown to interception ratio is 7-0. He's 62.2% completion rate. So this dude is going to be phenomenal this week, 23 to 24 completions. I think he's going to be on the cusp of getting to 300 total passing yards. And by on the cusp for a quarterback, I'd say 275 to 280 yards constitute on the cusp, a pair of touchdown passes, and we can go from there. And to be, what did I said it like 10 minutes ago. I'm starting my lineup builds with Chase Brown and Chuba Hubbard. I let me take that back. A lot of them are Chase Brown and Jonathan Taylor, as we had mentioned. Justin Herbert, Chase Brown, Jonathan Taylor, and Ladd is, if you're going to play Justin Herbert, Ladd is a must in your lineups. George Pickens is in there as well, and Kenneth Walker III in the flex spot. So we're all over the map, or at least I am so far. As we look at the time, Keith, it's around 12:48 p.m., 12 minutes before lock. I want to stop at Arizona and Minnesota before we run out of time here. And you can touch on Philly, Baltimore if you want. That's a slam dunk kind of single game slate if that's what you're into. But when you look at Arizona versus Minnesota here, a lot of optimizers I've seen, or screenshots from the Fantasy Six Pack Discord, which anybody out there, it's free to get on the Discord, but there are some premium options, and rightfully so, given the conversations that are going on in the NFL DFS spot. You can check out the NBA DFS spot, and even there is NHL DFS, which is nuts. I love NHL DFS, but Arizona at Minnesota. When you look at this one, Arizona's on the road, and this is a dome game, so I'd imagine it's somewhat on your radar here, Keith. But I cannot figure out. I have every game this week. I have the final score to a T. I have a betting lean on each way. We're talking about players that we like from all these games. I cannot figure this game out. And of all I've sent you screenshots before, my game projections, right? This is what they look like. You want to zoom in, see it? They're like this and highlighted in little notes. Look at the only one that's not filled in is Arizona and Minnesota. I cannot figure this game out. So I'll toss it to you if you have anything. And more than likely, I'm going to piggyback on what you said to make me feel, better or special about myself. Anything here, Keith?
There's 2 guys that I really like playing this week, at least for cash. Aaron Jones is the first. Arizona is a team that really struggles with run. That they're one of those few teams right now in the NFL that's actually better to run from a DVOA perspective than it is to throw on them. I think that Minnesota really needs this win because the Packers and the Lions just continue to not lose. I think you're going to see a lot of that because this is an Arizona team that they have caused some turnovers, particularly in the passing game. You want to take that pressure off of Darnold. On the other side, it's Trey McBride. Minnesota is a great defense versus wide receivers. And again, a team that it's very difficult to pass on. The one exception is there has been some tight ends that have really gone off on them. And Trey McBride is, you're getting a number 1 wide receiver for 5,800. He didn't have the greatest matchup last week. He caught 12 passes. I mean, that's just who he's becoming. He's Kyler, Murray's blanket. So those are the 2 guys from my perspective. I think this game is going to be wild. I don't think there's going to be a ton of points. I think both defenses are really good and kind of underrated, but I'm not afraid to run Aaron Jones and Trey McBride because of the volume that they get.
Yeah, personally speaking, I'm rooting for the Cardinals here. Any loss that us Lions fans, any losses, I should say, that us Lions fans can get our hands on. And like you said, the Packers they're just not losing right now. And Minnesota seems to be following suit, chasing the Lions for that NFC North divisional lead. But Green Bay and Detroit play on Thursday again in Detroit. going to be a fantastic game. One thing I will say, all these lineups I've built, and I think I've done my best, kind of explaining them or showing folks what I have going on. There's been, I probably was last night laying in bed. It's midnight. I'm just scrolling, trying to, not tweak, but build more lineups. There were several times where I had I had exactly $6,900 left or 7,000 on FanDuel. And it always took me to Marvin Harrison Jr. or Trey McBride. And for the most part, I couldn't, which one do I want? I can't figure this game out. I just, said locked in Trey McBride because, as you said, it's more automatic in a way. There's more of the floor is safe, but with Marvin Harrison Jr., the upside is without doubt immense, higher than probably top 5 in football in terms of the upside that can happen. Jamar Chase and
would like
Jefferson.
to see him facing a team that runs a little bit more man, though. Like if you look at his splits, he's been very good versus man, not versus zone. This is a Vikings team that they blitz at the highest rate in the NFL. And what do teams that blitz a lot do? They run that, cover 3 kind of shell. That's what they're going to be running a lot. He needs to me prove that he's going to have a big game versus a zone heavy scheme before I can trust him. Again, for cash. MME, I agree with you though. He's somebody can go off at a moment's notice.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get the heck out of here, it's 12:53. We have about 7 minutes before lock, 7 minutes before we split and enjoy our Sunday main slate. Sunday.
Can we hit the Texans game? Because there's a lot of plays from this Texans-Jags game that I like. Like I know C.J. Stroud has been absolutely gross this year. It's been really disappointing, but it's just a simple Jags run man, second highest rate in the NFL. They run it at like 42%. So almost half the plays, they are going to run man. We've seen them with other teams where they're very good versus man, and they don't change it up. They run what they run. And Stroud, the difference in man and zone is unbelievable. He's got 33rd in completion percentage versus zone. He's second versus man. Passer rating, he's 39th versus zone. And again, there's only 32 starting quarterbacks. He's 4th versus man. He is so much better. You can pair him with Nico, who, again, just a man eater. Like it is outrageous. His target rate is 43% this year versus man defenses. He's getting over 2.5 fantasy points per target. And then on that same side, Joe Mixon, 8K. Why do we keep doing this in cash? And I'm guilty of it. Like I end up, going with a Henry or a Barkley or spending down for a Taylor, and I won't find the money for Mixon. He's basically a 30 burger in a majority of games. And now he's getting like the worst, run defense in the league. The Jags, you were kind of getting into it. They are like the worst defense in the league. Against the pass, they give up the most passing yardage. They give up the most rushing to QBs. They give up the, most big play. Like it's just across the board, but their run defense is equally as bad. And we know the Texans are going to, pound Joe Mixon. That's what they've done since they signed him. But having said that, on the other side, the return of T-Law really, to me, makes Brian Thomas Jr. and Evan Ingram extreme discounts in DFS. For Ingram, it's just the volume and what he can do. I know this is technically a tough matchup, but I think he's going to get a ton of targets. And for Brian Thomas Jr., he scored 15 points or more in 4 of his last 5 that he played with T-Law starting. Scored over 20 points per game in 3 of those last 5. And I know the Texans defense is technically good, but in these games that they've been up a lot, just remember, we're 2 weeks removed from Cooper Rush throwing for 350 plus yards. So you can throw on them in that situation. I expect the Texans to be up. That's very good for Jags pass catchers. So I do really like Brian Thomas Jr. at 5,500. He's in a ton of my cash game lineups this week.
No, yeah, well said. And with Mixon, as you said, it's automatic. And Jacksonville's 31st, or what'd you say, 31st or 32nd?
Yeah, they're 31st.
Does it matter?
Yeah, it's just bad.
Yeah. They're 32nd against, quarterbacks, and we'll go from there. Yeah. Brian Thomas Jr. should be in folks' lineups, but in seasonal formats, a lot of people haven't asked me personally, but I've seen it floated around social media. What are we going to do with Travis Etienne or Chase Brown. That was a silly comparison. It's not even close. But let's say, Travis Etienne,
Gus Edwards, maybe, right?
Or Gus Edwards, Jalen Warren. I'm playing all of them over Travis Etienne. What was once a young, studly, up and coming running back play, he's absolutely fallen off. People were taking Travis Etienne around the same time as Jamar Gibbs, if I'm not mistaken, or am I way off on that?
I was shocked because I've never been a big ETN guy just from yards per carry and stuff. There's a lot of metrics show he's not a very good running back. And also just don't forget when they get down, it's awful for both their top backs, Bigsby and ETN. They don't play very much. And it's, Johnston is always the guy that gets in when they're down. So if you think they're going to be down, he's actually the best play probably this week of the three because of the pass catching upside.
Absolutely. And it is around 12:58, 2 minutes before lock. Before we get out of here, Philly and Baltimore going to be a phenomenal game. It's going to be probably, cold and misty and crazy. It's going to be dark 30 minutes after the kickoff there. That's how it is in Michigan, 4:30. It's like, it's already nighttime here. But I do believe Philly wins this one 28-27 by a point, while I would prefer Baltimore to win for the sake of the NFC. And San Francisco at Buffalo. I'm so excited about this game from a weather standpoint. If you just anybody out there now, just Google Buffalo right now on their weather report. It's been snowing since yesterday sometime. They're getting just inches upon inches of snow. It's going to be a full-blown snow game. San Francisco is toast regardless. They're playing in Buffalo. Now it's going to be snowy. Talk about a West Coast team, going, to the East Coast. That's the true definition of leaving Michigan in January and flying to the, the Bermuda and the tropics and then coming back home. It's just like, oh my God, what the heck do we do? So give me Buffalo to win. Actually, I won't say because I got a Sunday Night Football video coming up. That's what we call a teaser. Keith, anything before we split and enjoy our day?
No, just hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I'm hoping my Falcons can somehow find a way to win today. I'm not feeling good about it because the Bucs schedule the rest of the way is so cake. Including today. I'm worried that they are coming for us and I'm going to have my heart broken again and our playoff streak will extend. We have not made the playoffs since 2017.
Jeez, I'm sorry to hear that. Along the same vein with the Lions, but we didn't play. We didn't even make it. We got our heartbreak before the Super Bowl in the NFC Championship game. So everybody be good, be safe. If you're irritated or upset, I would avoid social media. It's become a cesspool of just trolls and folks saying stuff to get a rise out of you. So do what makes you most happy. Do what gives you the most peace. To me, it's talking with Keith and talking DFS with Fantasy Six Pack. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.